Warning, this podcast has some swears in it.
I'd rate it PG-13 at most, but let's just be on the safe side and say viewer discretion is advised. Because, you can always get B-roll before we get started, because that's always how I love opening these things.
You gotta catch these crisp lighter flicks.
I need...
100%.
Alternatively, I want to get a bit of audio from the MTG Lexicon stream last night when Quinn continued getting blasted by instant speed spells during combat. And just visceral, no!
Oh no, don't fog me.
Do it.
Gonna try and resculpt your ego?
No!
Oh.
My plans.
That's
Alright,
hot.
that works. She'll get sent to the fucking Shadow Realm, and I will put a 4/4 that's not attacking onto the battlefield. Fuck. Oh, you got my ass. Oh man, people kept ruining my grand designs. It was
You
so
can't just
tilting.
swing a Yuriko at someone and be like, my grand plans, and then, come on.
It's not my fault that they keep putting villains in Grixis, and I'm just gonna keep playing that role.
Time to raise your blades, heroes.
And check some vibes.
It's the Hero's Blade vibe check. It is I was going to say it's Sunday. It's a lovely Sunday morning, but for Andy, it's a little bit later.
It's a beautiful afternoon. It's very gray, and the leaves are falling.
Yes,
Oh,
well,
that's so lovely.
it is fall time. Stuff is happening. It's the end of the year is creeping up on us, and it's quite scary.
It's time for things to die.
Hey everyone, Andy Floury's in the house. What's good? What's happening?
Hello! I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe that it's been a year and a half since my last podcast episode ended with Guardian Project Podcast, and so I've been itching to get back onto a show. So it's funny. I reached out to Quinn and Cole and said, "Put me on the show. Put me in, coach. Come on, let me be on the show." And here we are. So I'm so excited. I prepped so hard for this.
The
I'm
unfortunate.
so glad that we can finally make this happen.
Yes, especially with everything that's going on in everyone else's lives. That is always the thing. You keep adding a +1 to the mix, and every once in a while someone's like, I can't, it doesn't work for me. And then you're like, okay, what can we do? Can we get up at 5 a.m.? And they're like, I guess if I have to. I don't want to, but I got stuff to do in my life, but sure. But yeah, year and a half since Guardian Project. That's crazy how time flies.
Yeah, March of 23. We were going for 4 years strong. March of 23 was the last show, and everybody still sees me online, so it's not like we disappeared. I just I had a really great opportunity at work come up and said I need to focus on this. So it was one of the hardest decisions we made. For those of you that did listen to the last episode of our show, at the end as we were closing, oh my God, the waterworks started, and I was like, we need to shut this down right now. I can't believe it's been so long. But no, there's a lot that's happened in the last year and a half.
No kidding. Yeah.
I haven't been able to talk about, but I will start out by saying that for those of you that did know that I used to shit all over the Lord of the Rings when I had really never seen the movies, okay, because they were so long. When the set was coming out, I didn't know what any of the I knew who Frodo was. And,
you could get the basics down, you know.
Right, I had some of those characters, but I didn't know who Eowyn was. I didn't know who Galadriel. I didn't know how any of those people were. So anyway, as the set was coming out, I was like, I guess I gotta watch these movies. So we watched them, and I live tweeted during them.
Is
So
it the
if you wanna
extended
see that-
edition or
thread.
what?
That was so fun.
No, we did the regular.
Okay, thank God.
I should have done. Thinking now, it's only like a half hour ish more of each movie. I should have just done the extended or an hour. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. And by the time we finished the last movie, the set was almost fully previewed. And all I can remember is that I was pronouncing characters' names wrong because I had only read the card before I had been introduced to the character. So when Shelob came out, I told my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, the card for Shelob is out. He's like, it's not Shelob, sweetie. It's Shelob.
No, Shelob is just lazy and is slobbish. We don't want this in the house. Get it out of here.
But I have to say, I loved the set. I loved the show, and I really was not looking forward to the Lord of the Rings set as that was like previewed back in, or I guess initially announced in like 2022. But I stand corrected. It was great. The set is still good.
It is
and
still really
I love the One
good.
Ring and have nothing negative to say about it.
Oh, don't even
All right, I was
fucking get
waiting for
me
that,
started. Oh, I forgot. I every time it comes up, I'm like, oh man, I forgot. Andy like loves and worships the One Ring, and then I shove it back in the deep recesses of my mind to try to forget about it. And then something comes up, you're like, this card's great. And I'm like, fuck.
You're like, oh god,
And
it's
it's not his
Andy
fault.
and
The
Fitz.
card
They're
is
both
incredible.
talking about the One Ring.
Okay, we're not talking about the One Ring. I'm gonna
Here's
have.
what I did to it, though. We got that foil
Yeah,
casting fire right here on my desk. Exile target artifact. That's how you handle that. They put that right in the set for you.
This
There's
is
also fear fire foes, so you can turn off the fog and punch the One Ring player for playing the One Ring.
they really did think of everything when it came to like just that set. Period. They're like,
Yeah, they wanted to make sure that if they were going to print something like that, that there were ways to answer it. And yeah, you've got those.
they're like, oh, here's this spell where Eowyn's stabbing the Witch King in the face and it deals at 3 damage. He's got 3 toughness. You're like, all right, you got me sold. It works out. But yeah, I remember doing a Lord of the Rings watch through just by myself. I think last year, or maybe it was earlier this year. This year's been insane. I can't even think about of all the things that I've done in this year alone, but I did also do my personal watch through, and I was like, "There's that magic. There's the Magic the Gathering person in this movie."
I do that every time.
I
there's a
picked it up from
Universes
you.
Beyond thing now. We go back and watch the fucking like source material and just like pointing at all of the instances of things that are on a Magic the Gathering card. Like I did that all the way through Doctor Who when that set came out. That was a really good time for me.
I was watching it on Amazon, and they got like the X-rays of who's the actor in the scene or whatever, and I'm like, okay. Sometimes names just aren't mentioned. Who the fuck is this character? Open up X-ray. Oh, hey, it's that Magic the Gathering card. Okay, and then I could be like, okay, hold on. Intercut this. This is this person. Boromir's getting hit with the 3 arrows from the Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, and then yeah, no, it was pretty funny and it kind of reconnected like that. And my girlfriend recently just finished watching the 2nd season of The Rings of Power, and she did apparently like a deep dive into like wikis recently and was like deep in
nice.
it. And then I'm like, in the back of my brain, I'm like, oh no, when is the Lord of the Rings rewatch gonna happen? And I'm gonna have to sit there and watch the trilogy again. Oh no, it's gonna be miserable. Oh well, but no, it's gonna be a good time.
Which Jurassic Park movie has the Indoraptor in it? Is that an actual character, or is that just made up as the super special raptor?
If Light was here, they could tell you, but I have no freaking clue.
Light has that answer, but I don't know.
All I know is when I see Jeff Goldblum's character Ian Malcolm, I go, look, it's Atla Palani.
Oh my god, that is hilarious. But anyway, speaking of the last year, I didn't know how to transition into this after this whole conversation. But for us at Heroes Blade Vibe Check, it had by the time this episode comes out, it will have been 1 year since we started this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
That's
a
so
whole
exciting.
year of
Congratulations.
podcasts.
It's 52 weeks was last week, technically, if you want to do like every 2 weeks. We did it. Every 2 weeks, an episode came out. No interruptions. We'll hope this will continue. But it's kind of crazy when you don't have a backlog, and then like this week was going to be happening, and Quinn's like, I'm going to be out of town. And I'm like, oh, fuck. What can we do? What do we do? Record on a Sunday? Alright, I don't have a can of Coca-Cola to open, but I'll have like a giant thing of tea to drink to get through this. Wake up.
Oh, I got a can. We can
Okay.
do that.
Yeah, okay, we got a can. Alright, perfect. Crack that bad boy open. But hey, 1 year or anything, is anything really changing for us? No, we're just gonna keep doing the same thing. We're gonna have people here. It's gonna be great.
Hell yeah, let it rock. Let's get right into these vibe checks then, yeah?
Andy, I see you're already wound up, ready to go to do this vibe check.
Hell yeah, show me what you got.
All right, so the card that I want to talk about is from one of my favorite sets that we didn't get to talk about a ton because our show ended just after this set came out, but this was from Unfinity. And the commander I want to talk about is Ambassador Blorpity Blorp Boop. Yes, this is not a made-up card. This is, in fact, a real Magic the Gathering commander. So a 3/3 Alien Advisor guest for 3, a green and a blue. And it says, when they enter the battlefield, you get 3 tickets. And you can put a sticker on a non-land permanent you own. Everybody loves tickets. Everybody loves tickets. We love game pieces, because that's what I'm all about here. And then it says, at the beginning of each combat, you may have Ambassador Blorpity Blorp Boop's base power and toughness become equal to the total power and toughness on all stickers among permanents you control. So the whole point of this deck is you want to put out all of the power and toughness stickers. So you pay tickets to put power and toughness stickers on cards. There's some very good stickers that, that can put the commander's power at 6 or 7 just with the sticker itself. So if you
okay, maybe I might like stickers now. I don't know.
Yeah, so
let's not jump to conclusions yet. But
you put the hero's blade on it, and you're getting close to a 1-shot or to a 2-shot. 3 shots are obviously important, but you can potentially get Ambassador Blorpity Blorp Boop to a 2-shot. And but the deck itself already just focuses on when you run him as the commander, I guess, focuses on just unblockability or flying or whatever. So I think he loves that blade. I think he wants that blade.
Yeah.
Damn. All right.
I'm
signing off on that one.
I don't want to say dang Unfinity, I didn't recognize your game. I apologize, but I'm not quite there yet. But
say it.
In terms of
how are you going to look at that and Starlight Spectacular and Saw in Half and cards like that from the set?
Quinn, look, like, if you want me to get into it, and I had this conversation last night, for a game that I'll be talking about later, but we were talking about Panglacial Worm, and how when you search for something, you can get the chance to cast it. But one of the people who we were playing with, was a judge or is very involved in judge rules and stuff, was like, technically speaking, this card doesn't actually work as written and within the rules, but we kind of just wink and say, sure, no problem. And I'm like, cool, hand me a silver Sharpie right fucking now. We're gonna fulfill the prophecy and make sure this card never hits play again. I hate silver border cards, and the fact that they mixed actual real cards with silver border cards in the same set just threw me for a loop. But I got a really cool extended art Sacred Foundry out of it, so I can't really complain too much,
Yeah,
I'm doing the a Vine accusation noise. This dude devoid of whimsy.
We need to actually make that a sound bit now. We need to work on that.
A soundboard. Also, I stand corrected before we move on from him. There's actually 2 10/10 power and toughness stickers, so you can make it a 10/10 base power. So actually, he could totally just do this by himself.
Yeah,
with that blade. Hold
so
my
sick.
beer. I'm gonna grab this blade. I love it, folks. Check out Unfinity because I actually think that set's great, and I will never say anything negative about it. Except I wish all Acorn cards were legal.
I really like the commanders from the Myra's Marvels troop. Particularly, I like Ignacio of Myra's Marvels, who you name one of 5 or 6 different characteristics or things that could be in an art piece. And then every time you cast a spell, if that's got that in the art, then you make treasures. And I have that for this very medium Mardu dog stack with Timna the Weaver. And we cast things with fangs in the art, and we make treasures and hit people with dogs and draw cards. It's a very good time.
I'm loving it.
I'll go on record on saying that I will never stop anyone from playing these types of cards, but you will never see me play these cards without a gun to my head. Just this
This
shit.
guy never opened a pack and chuckled. at
No,
legend. Wow.
I, and my buddy Derek will go on record for this, but we were, God, it was New Year's 2018 or 2017 or whatever. Was that? Yeah, it was about that long ago. And what was the last Infinity set, or was it just it was unstable?
Unstable. That was the box set, right? Unstable. Was
Yeah, I think, and it was
Unsanctioned, I think. that one was.
unsanctioned.
No, it was unstable then, because
Okay.
her
That
Goes
one
to
had
show how well I
that
know
one
these
had the
uns-
machines. The machine.
yeah, it was the
things,
machines and the gear
cogs,
spinning
whatever they are.
Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't. Quinn's like, hold on, but
We can't ask this whimsyless man to know about unsets.
correct. I really could give two shits.
Yeah, I was right. It was unsanctioned.
Oh, okay, but
Unstable was in 2017.
but then that was it. That was the one then.
No, unsanctioned was in 2020.
No, the one we played was anyway. Whatever. I don't care. It's an unset happened at a New Year's gathering. And there were many cards that were thrown and gestures made and weird poses and shit. And I'm like, this is the most unfun I've had playing Magic in a long time. And I've had a lot of unfun experiences with people at an LGS. So I was just like, cool. The only cool thing out of that was the fuse cards or whatever the fuck. The pseudo mutate pairs were like,
Oh yeah, where they all had like a metal piece at the front or the back end.
The
So
back
like a
end, yeah,
cat-
like-
a cat's butt with a shark face.
yeah, like that was cool. That was the coolest thing that they did, and that was it. That was,
And then you got that later with Mutate.
and then I got mutate, and then I was happy, you know. So, but yeah, still, regardless of my feelings about this whole thing, yeah, Blorpity Blorp Boop fucking smacking you up in the head with its sword and 10 power is like, yeah, that's a problem.
Hell yeah.
All
right, what you got?
So, I think SpongeBob of the Krusty Krab passes the vibe check. I don't know what that card is actually.
Bullshit.
Iron Man,
The Lord of Bikini Bottom.
the Lord Hunter of Jellyfish. I don't fucking know. Iron Man, Titan of Innovation, loves a Hero's Blade. 1, because of his ego. 2, we got a 5 mana hasty flying guy. So like three turn clock off of that by himself, so that's already pretty great. And also there's probably a point where like you pop your artifact, you pop your Hero's Blade. I don't know why you would, but you know, just in case. And then I think there's probably a few like legendary artifacts you could probably, like legendary artifact creatures you could probably grab off that, throw that Hero's Blade on that new thing entering. I don't exactly know how I'm going to make my Iron Man deck. I'll have to think about that more for as long as it takes to ship up here. Because, you know, Canada and shipping and oh my god, and yeah, no, but Iron Man, yeah. He's the man.
I like
Yeah,
how quickly you
seems
can
decent.
find Hero's Blade though off of a 1-mana artifact by sacrificing. Like you can do the thing.
I mean, you have to, you know, you gotta get Iron Man out first, and then you want to start doing that, which, like, you know, how do you want to sequence everything? But, yeah, you're not lacking for options in terms of fighting artifacts, and, yeah, if you were like, no, I want Hero's Blade, I gotta brand, I gotta get it out, here it is.
He also enters and makes a treasure token, yeah. So like, you're incentivized to play the Contours closets and that kind of thing.
True enough,
And
yeah.
then if you play the blade after him, you blink and re-equip on ETB, and that seems fine.
But yeah, Iron Man coming to a battlefield near you.
You're gonna make me look at your artifact tutor in the command zone.
I'm gonna make you love it. I will make you love it. Trust me, I'll figure it out. I'm not gonna do like some combo stuff, but I want to try to I want to get like some Gear Titan, like Gear Hulks out and all that other stuff, you know. Eventually, I want to make the Hulkbuster armor over time, you know. Okay, you got a new Foundations card here, Quinn.
Yeah, Zulashua, Lich Lord. She's a 2/2 legendary creature zombie warlock for a 1 and a black, and she's got ward, pay 2 life, and you can tap her, and you may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. Here's the thing. Unless you're going pretty hard on milling creatures into your graveyard on like turn 3, you're not really having a creature to cast from your graveyard. So why not just pick up the Hero's Blade and go to combat? Like nobody's prepared to block that probably. She's a 5 power, checks notes after the Hero's
I
Blade's
mean,
equipped.
you're not really going to be attacking with her until turn 4. Unless you played like Dark Ritual or something.
No, she's 1 and a black. It's turn 2 that you cast her, and then turn 3 that she can attack.
Right, but Quinn, how do you get the Hero's Blade out before she comes out on 2?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You gotta think about these things. You gotta. We just talked about this last week with Ivora. You gotta play Dark Ritual on turn 1, and then you gotta play either the Hero's Blade and like a Soul Ring, or I don't know, a Wayfarer's Bauble or whatever, and
Yeah, I
then
don't know if
you
we're
play
playing Dark Ritual.
Zulashur on turn 2, and then
That shit is surprisingly sweaty. Maybe think about it if you're think about it before you put a Dark Ritual in a deck,
Isn't Ransack the Lab like 1 mana or something? Or am I thinking it's like 3 mana? I don't know. Regardless,
I think that's more than that, but there's Stitcher's Supply.
there we go. Yeah, there we go. Get Stitch's Supplier on turn 1 after the Dark Writ. Oh yeah, we're cooking.
Turn 1 Zulashur and Stitcher's Supplier, Lamau.
Yeah. But I do see it also defensively, obviously. Like, you're gonna get what? Gravecrawler out, and then you're gonna get Hero's Blade out, and then you get Zool out, put the Hero's Blade on, and then you got a 5/4 blocker. Why? Oh man, Trenton's gonna get my ass. Damn it. Oh. He's like, what? You can't have a low-cost commander that's got utility? Well, okay, whatever, man.
Look at you learning your lessons.
Jan Jansen, man. It's been back in my...
So yeah, I think that's a strong maybe on Zulashur. I'm not sure, but...
I can see
maybe.
it. I could see it. But that's it for Vibe Checks this week. We got a few... we got a recommendation through Blue Sky, which, hey, by the way, Blue Sky, actually kind of great now that a lot more people are on it. I was talking about it with my buddy Joel last night, where I was like, you scroll through, and you're done. You scroll through, you look like the last couple hours of people posting, and then you're like, I've seen these tweets, or I've seen these posts before, you're done. You close it, you move on with your day. No ads, no bullshit. You just get to see some cool artwork, like, so Imaginary Fiend tagged us, messaged us and tagged us. So he's like, gamers, Ozox, 200% passes the check. Nobody wants to block him or his tiny son, but that's a lot of damage to take if they don't. And Ozox is from Jumpstart. We got a 2 and a black for a 3/2 Skeleton Noble. Ozox the Clattering... I don't know why I thought it was Chattering, but Clattering King can't block, no problem there. And when he dies, create Jumble Bones, a legendary 2/1 black skeleton creature token with this creature can't block. And when this creature leaves the battlefield, return target card named Ozox the Clattering King from your graveyard to your hand. To which then Imaginary Fiend also shared this custom Jumble Bones artwork, which looks pretty fucking fire.
It's really awesome.
Oh, wow.
When I fall, the king returns to faded hand from graveyard churned. That's pretty sweet.
I like that. No blocking. 2/1.
You're not blocking. That's it. That's on the text.
That's real good. Oh, and it's holding...
It's Hero's Blade! Oh, why didn't I notice that till now?
Holy shit.
Okay.
It's so sick.
It's over.
I'm in. I'm sold.
This is awesome.
Vibe check status passed. These guys are huge, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that you make one and then make the other and then remake the first guy, so there's like a loop.
very difficult to permanently remove them and force you to like actually cast it from the command zone again.
Yeah.
I feel like all I need is an Ashnod altar and a Phyrexian altar, and I could do some damage. Like, it's all coming
You can
together. Like, this seems pretty...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
love-
there's something
love.
here. If there's
And
one
Jumble
thing,
Bones is Skull Clamp compliant for you sickos out there.
I'm a sicko.
what's the other one from Warhammer? No, Brothers Sword, Transmorgus Ground.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got more than one clamp for this. It's Quinn sweating.
Yeah, you can draw some cards off of these guys.
I enjoy it thoroughly.
But yeah, Jumpstart has had a lot of really cool legendary creatures, particularly of the uncommon rarity. Not that it really matters for that set. Like, it's, I don't know, anything that's not like a pet, like a dedicated like booster pack,
Draft set.
or whatever. Like, I'm like, rarity means
The
nothing.
rarity is fake.
But for the
Right.
sake of Artisan and Pauper, I suppose, and all this other stuff. But yeah, so yeah, Imaginary Fiend, thank you for sending that. That was pretty great. Let's go on to Spotify comments. We got 3 this week. Quinn, who started us off?
We got a comment here from Jilex who, is turning in an assignment on my desk. Lovely. Due to the mono black lich promised in comments last episode with Jerry. That's the Jaren Corrupted Bishop.
Yep.
General ideas to run high attack humans like Oathsworn Knight to go over the heads of early game value creatures. They're discouraged to block because it'll leave behind a human anyway, and we sack stuff for value. Mid-game, we start gaining life with Jerry activation. We end up getting low via self-drain, life pay, and combat, but we have so much more room when we hit our lich. And then they've included a Moxfield list. Yeah, that sounds like a solid game plan. I would like to see that in action.
I ran a Jaren deck years ago because I opened one, I think during like pre-release or from a pack or whatever, and I just... How can you justify going down to 13 life to flip them up to just a 6/6, like a pretty decently stacked 6/6? But Ormondal the Corruptor is not the same Ormondal on the backside of Westvale Abbey. But
Yeah, he ain't no profane prince, but he will draw you quite a few cards, and you should have set yourself up to take advantage of that. So in theory, strong Magic the Gathering card. But is the juice worth the squeeze? Maybe not, unless you're being a lich. Then let's talk about it.
But yeah, in this case, yeah, it should be pretty sweet to see. Oh man, Oathsworn Knight is just a card that is always kind of stuck in the back of my head.
I think that card's really cool if you can support it with adding more +1/+1.
The
counters.
artwork is also pretty sick.
Yeah.
So
That guy's
That's a big
just
old
like,
sword.
yeah.
Andy, how about you read this comment from Lenny?
Okay, I will. It says, you love Sunny T, but what's with this Guardian Scalelord erasure? Flying Sun Titan 2? I'm going to absolutely be feral for an Edgar. And Sabian Figaro card. And then 3, I'm going to say Koala.
I'm gonna say Koala, yeah, even though it's
Koala, a Johnny's Primate, does not pass the vibe check she wants to attack, but the card slot is better spent on life gain.
or is it Kala? I don't know, but
Kala?
I think Kala, because there's no Q. Usually you just make that the hard like case.
Oh, yeah, there is no U. I can't read.
Koala, a Johnny's
Koala.
Primate.
So is that just a Johnny's Primate but legendary that has the ability to gain life?
So
Let me read it. It's
Let's
a
take a look.
3/3
Okay.
cat warrior for 3 and a white. Whenever it attacks, other attacking creatures get +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of counters on Kala.
Swift,
Whenever you
sick.
gain life, put a counter on Kala and pay 3 and a white, gain a life. This card does all the stuff on it I love.
Yeah, and not a bad rate at 4 mana. I'm trying. What's a Johnny's brother's name?
Oh, Jazal.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I'm thinking of like Jazal boost the team through paying mana. Kala just cares about just having the counters and attacking out, which is great. You got like an anthem effect. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, like it's just free investment. You get to buffer up before she gets any +1 counters on her. So like, you don't really have to worry about it too much. But, you know, sometimes when Lenny says doesn't pass the vibe check, I just gotta defer to him on it, you know? He gets the vibe, but, you know, everyone's got the different vibe check, you know? That's just... Who is... Oh, Cat's got zoomies. Okay, sorry. I got... Sprout is... I don't know if my mic will catch it, but Sprout is screaming in the background while having zoomies, so this is to be expected.
We love zoomies.
Oh my god.
And lastly, we've got a comment here from Andy of the Legendary Creature podcast who says, here's my submission for the assignment, and drops a deck list for the new guy, Coma World Eater, who we talked about last week.
Why is he an 8/12 with Trample? Why?
So
Trample Ward 4 can't be countered. Woof!
Yeah. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you make 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. And Andy says he nearly went for a too many Coma deck, Bonkers Legend. Truly a wild Magic the Gathering card. But yeah, I requested a Coma Duelist Voltron deck, and that looks like what he's put together here with some of the landfall bangers because they're simply too good to leave home without. You're in the colors for them.
Yeah, I'm still gonna say to the end of the time that this is some Simic bullshit, but
oh yeah, primo Simic bullshit. Look at this guy.
I mean, but look, it's a two shot in the zone with the Hero's Blade. What the fuck is going on back there? Oh my
Cat's
god,
doing cat stuff.
Yeah, I think the cats are in the bathroom, like, in the shower, like, I don't know, in the tub, I don't know, I just heard clickety-clacking in there that should not be happening. Anyway, back on Coma. I'm glad also that it just makes the same Coma's Coils, despite the fact that I hate both Comas. I'm like, great. Coma's Coils continue to be the most annoying thing about this card.
I said this last time, but I'm always going to prefer the control win condition that just fucking cuts your head off, as opposed to the one that, like, wants you to tap out.
Yeah.
I gotta say, there's an echoing equation in this deck list where you choose a creature, each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn, and if they're legendary, they aren't. And all of your things can just become this Coma when they deal damage. You make 4 serpents for each of them that dealt damage. Disgusting.
Just fucking spiral out of control.
Out of
so
control.
many Coma's Coils. What are you gonna do about it?
I need to try to play more Mystic Reflection. It's just such a neat card, and it's just I've just very rarely seen it be used. Like, I want to use it against someone and like just fuck up their turn somehow. Just I don't know how. I want to believe in it. But yeah.
I also didn't realize there was this card existed, Lava Spur Boots. Crypt creature gets
You didn't?
1/+1.
Oh yeah.
Haste, Ward 1, Equip 1, and it costs 1. So this Coma has Ward 5 now. Well, I guess it has Ward 4 and Ward 1. They have to be paid separately.
They're
But
separate.
it's basically Ward 5, but
No.
so
it's
good.
It's good.
I think that's a really good pair of boots. I'm really glad that they printed that. Findable off of Urza Saga if you're about that life.
Cards, the One Ring, freaking Urza Saga cards I'll never have in my life at this rate.
Listen, that's what I thought too, and then I opened a box of mystery boosters too.
Yeah,
and
but
I
I'm
have
not
a
gonna
white
open
border
Mystery
Urza Saga.
Booster because they're white border, Quinn. My eyes. It's light
You're
mode.
weak and will not survive the winter. Next question.
Sorry, I hate it when I open my phone and it's on max light settings and just get flashbanged. Like, no, I don't want this in my life. And anyway. I'm here to obviously be the negative Nancy this episode and have the rest of the episode be boosted up by the joyfulness of these two lovely people.
I will say non-dark mode users are a little crazy. You gotta have dark mode, but the white border's okay. But if you're using full light mode in the middle of the night when you check your phone, you're gonna go blind.
Every once in a while, my girlfriend will turn over, like, we just sleep at different times of the day, and she'll be a complete night owl and then sleep for hours, but sometimes she'll turn on her phone at 12 at night. I'm quite kind of awake, and then she'll turn over brightest light you'd ever seen in your fucking life, and you're just like, are you blind? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, turn that shit off. She's like, and she'll be like, oh, here's this TikTok. I'm like, no, get it away from me. I can't see it. Oh god, but yeah, no, this deck is sweet. Oh man, hydroelectric specimen. Yeah, this got there's some tech in here. There's some cool sick tech in here, and I like it. No, we'll share that deck.
I will be inflicting this on some unsuspecting gamers, so we'll report back.
Oh, are they really going to be unsuspecting when you flip
No,
Coma
I'm
over?
gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna play Coma Duelist Voltron, and I'm just gonna like 2-tap you, and then you're gonna be dead, and then we'll move on to the next player.
Oh my god. Anyway, speaking of Andy,
That's me.
not you, the other one. Andy from Legendary Creature also does the You Know What's Cool podcast where him and him and Zach get together and talk about what's cool. And I forgot to mention this last episode, and I don't know why I blanked on it because I was so happy about being part of it. But I got to be part of it because I was like, hey, what about I come on your podcast to talk about Mega Man Battle Network from the Game Boy Advance? He's like, okay. And then I like told him a bit. He's like, okay, you need to stop telling me so you could come on the episode and talk about it. I'm like, okay, cool, sure, no problem. So yeah, did that for like an hour and a bit. And just shot the shit and talked about how what is it with video games in like the early 2000s that are strangely prophetic of our near future? They're like, what if your cell phone could like hack the world and you're just like, yeah, all right, sure. What could possibly go wrong? Hospital shut down, powers off, someone middle of surgery in danger, and you're just like, so that was in 2002. That's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's a good time.
That game's
Mega
good.
Man Battle Network, a fun time, and you had such a good time talking about that on the podcast. I could hear it in your voice.
Every
It's a
time,
good listen, people. Check it out.
every time they were like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, I hooked them. Keep it going." And then what? You're like, "Oh yeah, this is crazy." Yeah. Other than like, I don't know, what have I read or watched recently? Articles are out for Foundations. There's a lot of people who are Foundations ambassadors. A lot of people that I'm not surprised to see. You know, Jen and Donnie, Beth, and so on. And yeah, it's, you know, check your TikToks, check your YouTubes. Other than that, I don't know. I have a list of podcasts. I say it like every week. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. Listen to Magic Podcasts. What are you doing next week? What's happening? Magic the Gathering podcasts? I don't know. Continue to listen to them. They're pretty
I've
great.
been journeying through hell and not consuming that much content, so I don't have a whole lot to post there.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, what have you, in terms of like Magic stuff? What have you been doing for yourself to keep yourself in the loop? Do you read articles? Do you watch videos? Do you just bust open packs? Do you buy singles?
So I have like 4 or 5 podcasts that I listen to every week. So I have been a diehard from day one. GLHF Magic the Amateuring.
Yes,
I'm one of the OGs. Like, I feel like a founder. Like, I started playing Magic in 2013. So Gatecrash had just come out, and I started listening to their podcast when Oath of the Gatewatch came out. So that was like, or just before it. So I honestly don't think that I've missed an episode. So like, it's been years. So I listened to them every single week. I got into some Cube content. So I listen to Lucky Paper Radio every single week. I do read articles, and I've been very fortunate having friends like both of you and all of our other friends who make a ton of content. So I feel like I get to see the behind the scenes, and I get to see everybody's content as it's being created and as it's coming out. So I think I've just stayed in touch. I just don't post as much, you know?
Yeah.
I used to be, and I used to use TweetDeck when Twitter was still the name Twitter. I mean, we still call it Twitter, but they used to have TweetDeck, which was free, and I'm not paying for that. Don't pay for any of that stuff. And I used to schedule tweets because it's like, I want to say something, I want to be involved, but like, I'm not going to remember.
I'm not going to get up at
1:15
5
on a
a.m. in the
Wednesday.
morning and make a
Yeah,
tweet.
I'm not. Yeah, and like, I work a 9 to 5. You know, I do have one of those. I mean, I'm like an 8 to 4 kind of person, but like, in the middle of the workday, I really am actually just working. You know,
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And so I used to use that and schedule it out. And so that's, you know, people would see, oh, Andy posted again. It's like, yeah, but I scheduled that on Sunday with another 60 other tweets, you know? So I was very organized. But no, I watch a lot of content. I am consuming I think now equal amounts of commander and cube at this point because there's a lot to keep up in both groups. But cube, I think, is less rotating now, which is funny because everybody adds a few cards from every set to their cube. It's the same way for commander, but I feel like it's, unless it really fits whatever your cube theme is, there's less to talk about. Or less to focus on, maybe. You read them all, but you maybe don't care about all of them.
Like, for example, not that I'm too deep into cube, because every time I think, I would like to make a cube, and then I'm like, I don't know shit about draft in any way. Like, I'm bad at draft. It's because I don't draft. And then I get burned by draft when I try to do it, and then I'm like, I quit draft forever, and then it's just an endless cycle. But, like, Emma Partlow, for example, she has her peasant cube, and then it's like, maybe this'll work. Or, oh shoot, who's the Jeskai guy?
Angelo, the Jeskai?
Yeah, and Angelo's Innistrad cube. Like, how often is that going to be updated? How often is that going to come up? And every once in a while, you
would be surprised.
Yeah, and so, like, supplemental sets come out, or commander set comes out, or whatever, and it just happens to be like, it's the crossover episode, whatever. Here's this character from Innistrad, and then it's like, okay, yeah, we could maybe make the cut. But yeah, it really does kind of depend on, like, how niche your cube construction is. I do really still want to make a Mardu-only cube, but that's what Killer Queen is for, so. Which I still haven't played a whole lot lately. I do need to get on that, but every time I'm just like, Divinity, I gotta play Divinity, I gotta play video games, I gotta do something else other than do that. Which, I'm free from that curse, finally, my god.
Congratulations.
But okay, yeah, that's good to hear, that, you're keeping up, because that's the one thing that I think is still kind of crazy, depending on what your involvement with Magic is like, how are you able to, like, absorb via osmosis of what's going on if you don't want to, like, sit there and be like, scroll through Scryfall and be like, I don't know how to parse all this. You can have someone be like, this card's fucking awesome. You're like, cool, I'm in, let's do it.
I think what's nice is, so we have commander leagues that are LGSs near us, and I'm very lucky being in the area I'm at. We have 7 or 8 pretty good LGSs that have actual, like, communities that want to play each different type of format. And so there are 2 LGSs within 15 minutes of my house that both have big commander communities. And so every Monday night I play in a commander league, and so you play at least 2 games, but, like, if it goes fast, you just play with your pod, so you can get, like, up to 4 games on a Monday night in a couple of hours, and it's fun. But I will say that with a community like that, with people who are, like, really into absorbing, like, new content and new cards, I don't have to do all the research or, like, think of all the ideas myself, because when I show up after a new set comes out, like, half the group has, like, a brand new commander. So I'm like, great, I don't know what that is, and I'm gonna see how it works right now. And because theory crafting is one thing, right? I think this new coma that we just talked about briefly was, is going to do this. And sometimes it does or doesn't do that thing.
Yeah.
Or you don't think the card's good and you go, oh, I just got steamrolled and I have absolutely no idea what I would do to stop that. And I think that that's what's fun with the sheer amount of commanders coming out. It's really hard for anybody to keep up with, but I let everybody else build all the new stuff, and then I figure out what I think is the coolest.
Well, like Jim from the Spike Feeders always said, was that, like, ever since there's been that uptick in just legendary creature count, period. And, like, Duskmourn surprisingly didn't have a whole lot, thankfully. Like, it had some sprinkled out, but it wasn't like, here's an uncommon cycle of 2-color legendary creatures. Like, no, they didn't do that. But he's like, you could have had a pretty good approximate encyclopedic knowledge of all the cards in Commander over 5, maybe more years ago, but now, like, no chance in hell. And so when people cast new stuff, I just kind of be like, cool, am I going to be able to immediately, like, lock that in for this turn cycle, or is it going to just immediately, like, disappear in my peripheral, and then it'll blow up in my face later, But it's kind of the Wild West, depending on how much Commander you play and who you play Commander with, and that means how often do you interact with these new cards or not. But I just always look at it, it's a learning opportunity, and sometimes you're like, damn, that's sick, I want that too, you know? So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm always sticking my face directly in the trough labeled new cards, so I'm just like,
just
give me that content.
Yeah, I try and at least look at new cards I try and read through the cards in the new set, and I try and go from a perspective of, do these help my like 2 favorite commander decks? And the ones that I've had together, I think for the longest, are Niambi Esteemed Speaker and then Jarad Golgari Lichlord. So I have an Azorius Legends Matters deck, and then just a green-black. It's a fling deck. I mean, you sacrifice creatures and your opponents lose life equal to that creature's power. So I feel like I look through all cards and go, what works for these 2 decks?
Yep.
And then on the way, just, it's the friends we met along the way is, oh, I read this line and I think that would work really well on like my Hapatra deck. And there is a new card coming out from the Jumpstart portion that cares about Gorgons, but also snakes. And so I was like, cool, this works. Was I looking for Hapatra? Absolutely not. But I found this, so that's cool.
Oh, did you end up finding a home in Jarad for like a Gitrog Ravenous Ride? Because I feel like he wants to be eating the same kinds of creatures that Jarad wants to be eating.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having such a hard time now with that deck because every green-black card that comes out is just so good. Like, I had a hard time getting Yargle and Maltani in the deck, being 18 power. 18, it's an 18-7, 18-9?
It's an 18-6.
An 18-6. And even an 18-6, I mean, that's almost half of everybody's life total. I was like, but is this good enough? And it costs 6, and then it costs 3 to fling. Do I really want it here? Or do I just want a Yargle and Maltani commander deck? I don't know.
Oh.
The deck's just so hard, because one giant growth is commanding damage.
So this is what I totally get about that from my Audric Bloodcurse deck, is like, every time a set comes out, that is the first thing, that is the only first primary thing on my mind, and then maybe there's like the handful of decks afterward. But when it comes to like, how many times can you justify cutting for a new card with another new card that you just put in, right? And then it's the list of like, how many more times can I say this thing is strictly better than this one other card, but I really like this one other card. And then Quinn just says, make a whole other deck. And then you're like, cool, I'm making a whole other deck. And it's still sitting on the fucking shelf. And I haven't touched the second Bloodrick deck, maybe a little bit, but it's hard to be like, this is my favorite deck. There's a lot of investment and time into it. How do I justify to myself and destroy one of my children for my new favorite child? It's just not going to happen.
It's me looking at Razorkin Needlehead for my Grixis Owling Mine deck. I'm just like, I need another Underworld Dreams. I know I do, but like, oh man, I have to find a slot for another Underworld Dreams.
We can talk about it. Send me the list. I'll be just like, take that out back like Old Yeller and just get rid of it. And you'll be like,
okay, but you're devoid of whimsy. I don't know if I can like... I don't know if you're going to see the vision exactly.
I feel like the Locust God decks are having the exact same conversation.
God.
With Razorkin and Needlehead, because, you want the wheels, but then you need the payoffs for the wheels, and like, is Psychosis Crawler worth the cut anymore? I don't know. And I used to play the Locust God. I ended up taking that apart, even though I love that deck. But every time I see a card that's like, whenever someone draws, they take damage, I'm like, oh, the Locust God wants it. Oh, and it's in red.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It only costs 2. Oh my gosh. This is what we're supposed to be
doing. Oh, and they
just
just printed that new robot too that like has everybody like draw an extra card and then that burns them. So like that even like probably fits better in my Owling Mine deck than the other guy.
Yeah.
I'm fucking sweating, gamers.
I'm sweating for you.
Look, Quinn, I handed Bloodrick over to Laura. It was like, Laura, hit me. And she's like, cut campus renovation. I'm like, fuck. Fine.
She sees the light of Avacyn, though.
But she does, because then I put in Aurelia, the law above, and it's like, yeah, it's a 5 for 5. Like, that's the trade-off here. Like, great, no problem. But yeah, no, it's just sometimes, like, get the second opinion, get the third opinion, hand the deck around and be like, what would I cut for these? And obviously, like you said, that little new robot's going to be making the cut way more than the Razorkin. But if you could do both of them, that would be truly something else.
Yeah.
I just got another Razorkin Needlehead the other day, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to put this one in Bloodrick. And then I remember that I had already bought that alternate art version for Bloodrick, and I was like, well, now I have another Razorkin Needlehead, so where's that going to go? And I'm like, am I going to put that in the Red Death? And then I'm like, I think I already have one in that one, too. So, like, you know... Quiz
fucking shaking your deck lists, holding them upside down. Cole, where's the needlehead?
I know
it's in here, Cole.
I'm just trying to think about where else that card could fit. But just watch out. Don't be caught slipping. Don't be a Mr. Fitzy Fits gamer and be greedy. You have to know when to draw your cards in burst mode. Speaking of cube. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping around, Andy, but I'm trying to, like... We're going to move on from community stuff and, like, decks and whatever, but we're going to go decks and vibes here. That's the section now. It's called decks and vibes. That's what it's being called. Locked in. Are we talking about Secret Lairs, or are we going to talk about cube?
Or we can talk about the deck that I have.
Okay, go for it.
I put everything way out of order, too. So
oh, fantastic. I love that. Absolute chaos. Let's do it.
Keeping you on your toes, right? Well, let's talk about a deck and some vibes. And the deck that I have most recently built and have been vibing with is Norn, Swift Survivalist. So we got to see Norn come back in Duskmourn.
Which was surprising.
Yes. Don't know how Norn stumbled there. I feel like the story said something like Norn went into a door and it was like, oops, now you're kind of stuck here. And
yeah, literally that. And Valgavoth is powerful enough to open doors to whenever, I guess, and not just wherever. Panic emoji?
Yeah, I feel like, so that I enjoyed Duskmourn as a set. It's like, I think the aesthetic was cool. The idea of Norn being pulled from a different plane in a different time really blows for Norn. I would not want to be. There are many planes I've thought about. I was like, if I was here, I feel like I'd be okay. I feel like Duskmourn, I would not be okay. I would not make it out. I would
not be able to handle that. I'm not built for that life.
I'm not. I don't do scary things. I don't think I'd be a survivor. Like if real life, like we were all put into a scary movie, you know, like you've got the 3 or 4 people who like die and then the one
like
person makes
almost
it out,
immediately.
Like, yeah. And I don't know if I'd be the almost immediate, but I feel like I'd be like the friend that you're like, I feel like this person's going to make it out. And then like last second they get the axe. And it's like,
I am not your final girl. Jot that down.
I think I'd make it halfway through the movie. I wouldn't be the first, but I definitely wouldn't be the last.
And I don't know if I want to come back for a sequel. Like, well, I'm a one and done person, so like I don't want to be important enough, and that's why I feel like I wouldn't make it out because I'm not important enough to. Make
You see, but my other mentality is you just don't go and nothing bad happens to you.
See, Valgavoth, don't invite me to your plane. But unfortunately for Norn, they were pulled to the plane, and it's still a 1-mana commander. So honestly, I love 1-mana commanders. I've talked about them extensively. I've ranked them. And this is a 2/1 for a single red mana for a human coward that cannot block. And then it says, whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may exile it. You may play that card from exile this turn. So initially when you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, so I can play a creature that has a cool ETB or enters. That changed since I have been done podcasting. Now it's called enters, and we don't call it ETB.
I mean, we still do, but come on.
Yeah, we all still do. So now you play creatures that have cool ETBs to get their ability, and then you swing at somebody, and then they block it, and then you just recast it, which maybe isn't the best use of your mana, but maybe it has a cool enough ETB. So that's initially what I thought. So I put together this list and said, I'm going to have the coolest ETB creatures, and I tested it out on a stream and realized that people just won't block your stuff, even if the ETB's pretty mid, and honestly isn't that great.
I don't know. They're just taking damage. That sounds great.
Yeah. So like one of the cards is Charming Scoundrel, a 1/1 with haste. When it enters, you can either discard and draw a card, you can create a treasure token, or you can put a Wicked roll on a creature you control. So like they're all fine. It's not doing anything broken, and it's a 1/1. So like it's not going to do much damage to your opponent. What I learned quickly was absolutely nobody, and I mean nobody, wants you to have any extra value in any way, shape, or form. So what I actually learned is that Norn says your creatures are unblockable. And I know it sounds funny, but it really did say your creatures are unblockable because nobody wanted me to have anything of value. So I said, okay, well, maybe I went about this the wrong way. So then I changed it and said, if you're not going to let me get value, I'm just going to make your stuff my value. So then I threw in a full package of like active treason to steal your creature, and then I swing. So now you can block, and if I exile it, I can exile it forever, or I can recast it and then it's permanently mine. So I think the pain was worse when I said, well, fine, I'm still going to use my mid creatures that don't really do a whole lot. But I'm just going to play all the active treason. So I've got active treason, I have hijack, I have mob rule, seize the spotlight.
Oh, mob rule, please. Love that.
I love it. I've got word of seizing. It's got split second. Try me now.
Wow.
Like that one will in fact be mine.
Infernal Captor seems really funny with this list too.
Yeah, so I said, let me steal all your creatures. And then it became way more political than I was expecting. Because I would take someone's... I have always said, like, I usually try and leave people's commanders alone, but I realized I don't always need to do that because I build my decks solely based around the commander, if the commander's not always out, the deck does nothing. Not everybody else does. And so occasionally taking their commander to do something with it is good because they're not going to be, like, dead in the water without it. So I found very often that it was more beneficial for me to active treason their commander, swing at somebody else, and just say, if you block, I'm not going to kill your creature. I'm actually just going to exile this creature because Norn says I can. So it becomes active treason becomes a path to exile, right? It's like, no.
Which in mono red.
It's gone.
It's great. That's fantastic. Love that.
Exactly. And then, not that I'm saying anything negative about mono red, but I don't always play mono red, and I feel like there's a lot more value in some of the other colors, just like repeat value on creatures, just on bodies. So I ended up finding out that the deck worked way better as a theft deck. So the reason I built it though is because our LGS has like a thing that happens in October. We call it Mono Red October based on I
also
believe.
celebrate that.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So everybody brings a mono red deck. So I played this for the entire month, all 4 weeks, and it won quite a few times, which was very exciting. So I got to see a lot of new commanders like Dragonhawk. We got to see.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see the newest Kranko. The one that,
hell yeah.
Yeah. So like, everybody tries to put together something brand new. So that's how I keep up with commander cards, because I get to see all the new stuff, especially when we do a themed month like Mono Red October. But I also had my very first win, and I want to talk about how we're all vibing with an unbanned card, World Fire. It was unbanned.
Oh, okay.
And I've never cast it. So it's a 9-mana sorcery, everybody.
If you're not not in the know, if you haven't been around.
Yeah, if you haven't been around, it was unbanned about a year and a half ago, and it's not a problem. It's not really.
Wait, year and a half ago? No, it was longer than that, I think. Didn't they unban this and then ban Golos?
I think it happened at the same time.
So that was 3 years ago.
That was not 3 years.
That was in 2021. I swear to God. Was
it really 2021? Okay, so it was. Maybe I'm thinking whenever Hull Breacher was. So maybe I've got my dates wrong. But it was unbanned, and turns out not been a problem, as many people expected. So
or maybe I'm crazy.
And red, and it says exile all permanents. Exile all cards from all players' hands and graveyards. Each player's life total becomes 1. So I was able to do the thing where I hadn't cast my commander the whole game, because it was one of those games where the other decks, I knew if I played my commander, it was just going to get removed because someone was playing like Gearson Starn. And I was like, well, everything's going to get pinged here. So I said, I'm just going to hold it back. And I had the World Fire in hand. I drew it on like turn 4. So I said, I just have to get the mana. So I ended up getting enough mana that I could cast World Fire, but I also was able to float some red mana, and then I was able to play my commander out. So I was the only player with a creature, and they had to draw a creature and a land, right? So I was able to take all 3 players out the next 3 turns in a row, because people either didn't draw lands or they drew a land and obviously didn't have enough for a creature. So I was able to say that I have done the thing. Would I keep it in the deck? I am unsure because I did get one person who had some pretty negative feedback about Worldfire. It wasn't about me. They were just like, this was not fun. But I didn't play it to the point where we went 9 turns. We went. It was like one person, then one person, then one person. So it was fast.
So here's my mentality, and this is gonna go into the whole like mass land destruction angle thing. But like, here's the thing. This is 9 mana to cast. And I can think about the times that I played a Worldfire in Cube. This came up in a Cube game from forever ago or whatever. But someone managed to get the mana, and they cast Worldfire, and then, Scorched Earth, everyone's at 1, go nuts, right? And in like those situations where if you've got it and you're able to close out the game afterward, then like who cares? You did it. Good job. Mm-hmm. That's the way it works out. But again, it's 9 mana and it's one card in a 100-card deck that is focused around trying to get your creatures out and stealing other people's creatures to use it for value with Norn. So does it mesh well with the strategy? Probably not in the grand scheme of things, but is this really also going to come up every single game? No. And Insurrection is probably going to come up a little more often than this. So...
Yeah, and that's how I won. Most of the games that I won were off of Mob Rule and Insurrection.
So, anyway. I'm sure people would be more complaining about those 2 cards than Worldfire, except for the one person being the statistical outlier in this situation,
Sure. Well, we also have the One Ring in here. And I think they complain.
I gotta leave. This is okay.
Well, we gotta get some card draw in here, right? So while we can,
I know times are so tough in mono red. It's just
times are so tough. Okay, so we needed the One Ring, but I also have to rep one of my favorite cards in existence, and it works really well with this commander. It is Access Tunnel. It's a land.
Oh, nice.
Let's go.
A colorless mana, or you can pay 3 generic and tap it to give a creature power 3 or less. Unblockable until end of turn. And folks, you need to put Access Tunnel in.
How many copies of Access Tunnel do you have?
So I have purchased in right here 200 foil Access Tunnels.
Why?
When they were like 7 cents or whatever, I bit the bullet and said, I'm doing it because stonks. I don't spec. Don't ever listen to me. I'm not a
yeah, you got the market cornered in foil Access Tunnels.
I do. And then it's funny, we went to MagicCon Vegas, which was the first one. It might have been Command Fest Vegas. I don't know. It was like the first one coming out of the pandemic. So
yeah.
21 or 22, I can't remember, whatever year that was, that they actually did it. We went, and Alana Danner was there. And Alana Danner, most folks know her art for being, Jeweled Lotus, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
people get in line for
yeah.
hours to have her sign Jeweled Lotus. Well, I got in line, and this was right after Jeweled Lotus, I think, had only been out for a little bit. So people weren't going crazy for her line, at least right there. And it was also just out of the pandemic, so it was a much smaller event. I was in her line, third person in line, and I get up there, and I'm like, here's 20 foil Access Tunnels. Can I get your signatures? And she looked at me and goes, why Access Tunnel? And I was like, listen, I love the card. I love the art. This is what I want.
Listen,
right? So
I got a bit. Let me have it.
And it was just so funny because it was not even day 1. I think this was day 2. And she was like, so I've pretty much only sold playmats of Jeweled Lotus and sold Jeweled Lotuses and signed Jeweled Lotuses. And this is really funny. And I will always remember that was my experience with Alana Danner.
Look, I mean, just going through her catalog here. Oh, she made my favorite island from Innistrad. All right, yeah. But
her
that
work
is just
so good.
She's got... I just do find it funny because, I mean, it is Jeweled Lotus. Rip in pieces, you piece of shit. But it's just... It is funny that you were like, no, I have a bit. Not only did I buy 200 of these, but I need you to foil a non-zero amount of them.
Yes, because now I can put them in all the cubes, all the commander decks, and it's very cool. It's very cool. But, overall, this deck I think was super cool. And if someone's looking for a theft deck that isn't, just pirates, which I love pirates. Don't get me wrong. I love Admiral Beckett Brass. I like the new Edward Edward Kenway. I like all of those
Edward Kenway's
cards.
so nutty.
They're
yeah.
all so cool, but Norrin being like mono red, people aren't expecting it. I think what they're really expecting is for you to play like a the red Gear Hulk, or for you to play
Inferno Titan. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, exactly. A Mirror Battlesphere as your top end or something. But when you actually say, you know what, I'd rather have yours, and then when someone blocks it to kill it, I'm like, no, I'm going to exile it. I'm going to keep this forever. And now Active Treason doesn't give it back to you. That I thought was really cool, and I enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to keep it together for a while. One of those. Made the team for a couple more months.
I think if we are looking for a cut or a swap in this deck, if Worldfire is too contentious,
sure,
Conjurer's Closet. Because you're doing the same thing. You take their stuff, you attack them with it, you flicker Conjurer's Closet, and as long as it's not their commander, it comes back under your control.
Correct.
Correct.
I enjoy it. So Norrin's been great.
Hell yeah.
I'm
so glad to hear that, because I thought that card was very interesting during previews and just like could not crack how to brew that. I'm glad that you put it together.
I also am finding it funny that because Norrin's a coward, they just straight up said he can't block. Rather than having a warrior come out and tell him he can't block, he just can't block.
Norrin and I have that in common. I probably wouldn't block either, but you do you.
That is very...
I'm not a fighter, okay? I'm not a fighter.
I'm just here for my cool rules text. The power toughness text box doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah, it means absolutely nothing. I'll just keep casting myself for one every time you block me.
Quinn, what do you got going on for decks lately?
So I have been playing some Magic the Gathering on Magic the Gathering Online. And we're back at it again, Necrobloom posting, this time because hashtag catastrophe.
I can't believe you did it. But then again, it's also like an achievement unlocked moment too, so...
Yeah, I put that in the deck as one of the ways to, air quotes, sacrifice all of my lands, and then follow up with one of the many splendid reclamation effects. Catastrophe also has it's a 5 mana to either destroy all lands or destroy all creatures, and usually we just use that as like a Wrath of God and kill all the creatures, but every once in a while you gotta blow up all the lands, and so we finally got to do that. So I'm playing against a Runetail Kitsune Ascendant, I think, and another Necrobloom and a Zada Hedron Grinder.
Oh no, not the Necrobloom mirror duel.
Yeah, you don't know what anybody is bringing in MTGO until you are at the table and the game is starting. So there's no way to prevent mirror matches or stuff like that. It just happens. But personally, I would not play a Necrobloom deck into another Necrobloom deck. I would like to provide the table with varied gameplay experiences, please. So yeah, we're in this game. Runetail starts drawing aggro and holding it because they played a Drannith Magistrate and a Soul Warden and a Mother of Runes, and then this guy that can block any number of creatures. So they're all set up to just don't touch me, and my life total will be incredibly padded, and you also can't have your commander. And then they followed up with some other root stacks enchantments, like a Aura of Silence, and just really cast in all of the spells that make everybody else at the table really mad at you. Me personally, not impacted by any of these things except for their life total going up. So the thing that I should have done was probably just to let the Drannith Magistrate that they had rock and kill their Soul Warden, because that's the thing that's tilting me. I can't beat them if their life total's ballooned into oblivion from all of my tokens. But I didn't do that. I used an Abrupt Decay and hit the Drannith Magistrate, which unlocked the commanders of the other gamers, and maybe made them turn their gaze away from me. So
earning favor in a commander game? No way. We're only supposed to play our outs and win the game, Quinn. We can't be We can't be joining forces. This is just... Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, you're right, though. I think by doing that, I got some time to just, like, move lands back and forth between zones and not have everybody be focused on what I'm doing because, again, fucking Runetail's out here causing mad problems. They're just, like... You can't remove any of their creatures via combat damage, and they've got the Mother of Runes, so, like, all of these things are staying around unless you have 2 pieces of removal. So yeah, we dodged some aggro like that, and I'm just out here, like, milling lands and cycling lands into my graveyard. Zada does the thing where you play Fists of Flame, and you've got, like, 4 bodies out, and the number gets very big, and they send all of that at Runetail. And it makes a dent, but they made so many tokens that it just, like, the Soul Warden canceled out a lot of that.
That sucks.
You gamers, turn off life gain. You have to. You will just lose the game to Soul Warden.
Listen to the soapbox. Quinn will tell you why. But anyway.
So yeah, I've got a bunch of lands in my graveyard at this point. I play a World Shaper, we get an attack trigger with it, and then I cast Season of Loss. It's that 5-mana sorcery from Bloombarrow with the paw prints, and I select the modes that make everybody sack a creature, and I draw 2 cards. And I feed my World Shaper to that, and this drags all of my lands from my graveyard to my battlefield. It just, like, doubles my land count, so I've got plenty of mana to play with next turn. The other gamers don't have nearly the amount of resources that I have. Fucking Runetail's, like, stuck on 4 lands.
Thank
and
God.
Still drawing aggro because they keep just, like, ballooning their life total out of control with the Soul Warden that they protect. So they're, like... We understand why they're getting attacked, but emotionally it probably doesn't feel very good.
Why are you bullying me? Oh, gee, where do we want to start? Anyway.
Because you're casting spells that are limiting my ability to play the game.
Stop that.
Yeah. So we're back to that Zada mage who ends up with a fucking treasonous ogre and a Stormkiln artist.
Oh shit.
And they make, yeah dude, they make a bunch of mana and then they target one of their creatures with Chaos Warp. And Zada copies that for all of their other creatures.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right.
And Stormkiln Artist makes a bunch of treasures for the copy of all of those spells. So they're setting themselves up potentially with a very cool and good board state after this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it does not play out like that. The Chaos Warps just don't reveal anything of value, and they end up with basically the same board state minus the tokens.
Oh no! You know what? Actually, that is really
tragic.
funny because they're probably all their sources are like instant sorceries or something.
Yeah, they're
right?
playing a lot of instants and sorcery stuff. Like, they've got a couple of banger creatures, but the deck isn't really set up to be a Warp World deck the way that some other decks are, and they kind of just cast Warp World on themselves.
Like,
so it's like very high risk, high reward.
I'm
if
a genius.
Get the right setup, they just fucking win the game.
I'm a genius. Oh no!
Yeah. If you get, like, the right amount of, like, enter the battlefield, make a goblin type goblins and, like, a goblin pile driver and the goblin war chief, like, if you get all of the right cards, you do just fucking kill everyone right there.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
But they didn't get them.
Tragic.
Bold play, though. So we salute. They pass the turn. I play Obnixilis of the Landfall Burn. I play 7-mana sorcery on Bramble Familiar to mill a bunch of cards and return an Iridescent Vine Lasher to play. So I'm all set up to just, like, do the thing again with my lands and burn them. We crack some fetches, we burn the Runetail player a bit, and we get set up. I have an Oracle of Moldiah, and I see, like, zombie Bontu on top of my library. So I'm like, okay, this is my moment. I have Catastrophe in my hand. There's Bontu here to crunch the World Shaper that I also have in my hand. I just need to pass the turn, let everybody survive one more turn cycle, and then I can unsheath my blade and cut all of their heads off at once.
And then just go, dead. the delayed cut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we do that. Everybody's still just, like, passing the turn with not much to do. and we go to my turn. I draw Bantu. I float all of my mana. I put that catastrophe on the stack. I select the mode Destroy All Lands, and everybody in the chat is just like,
Oh, God.
Gamers all pass priority, the spell resolves, and then I play Bantu with that floating mana, we crunch the World Shaper, and then return all of the lands to play. The opposing Necrobloom Mage is like, nicely done.
Respect, I see you.
Yeah, we've got like 18 plus triggers with Vine Lasher and Obnixilis. There's Zada at 12 life. We can nice them with four of the Obnixilis triggers. We got the opposing Necrobloom that we can roast with the rest. And Runetail has not been doing anything, and now they have no lands with which to do anything, so I'm sure I can find the stuff to do this again and kill them. Everybody understands the like status of where they are on board, so we're just like, all right, we're good here, GG's, and they concede with the triggers on the side.
Awesome.
I got to blow up all of the lands and win the game by doing it. That felt very good and cool and emotionally satisfying for me.
I don't know why, I just have this imagery in my head of you hitting Catastrophe, and it's just like watching someone on a stream, and it's just like the sidebar of comments just being like, oh my god, Pog, or whatever, like just some dumb emotes like going crazy. Like, Quinn did it, oh my god.
Losing their minds in the Twitch chat over me putting a mass land destruction spell on the stack.
Someone's like, I'm unsubscribing.
Understandable.
I can't see you do this, but then the Necrobloom player is like, yeah, respect.
Yeah, they probably have a similar game plan given the Necrobloom being Field of the Dead and their actual Field of the Dead that they had. They were playing a lot more landfall classics that are just like obviously good and drawing heat, whereas I was just like, here's a thing that will return all of my lands, and we are doing nothing else but moving lands between zones.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen quite a few Necrobloom decks personally the last little bit. Like, I think one of my friends out here has one. Quinn, you got one.
We have one at our LGS as well.
Yeah, it's
great. I mean, when I say we've got one, it sounded so negative. We have representation.
Yeah, like it's obviously a new exciting thing for Abzan decks, and it does the cool thing, and it also happens to be 2 cards in one, it's kind of crazy.
It really did be a Field of the Dead and turn all of your lands in your graveyard into Dakmor Salvage. Like, they didn't have to go that hard, but then they did it, and they put it in the colors where you can blow up all of the lands really effectively.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Nutty. I'm just like, time-wise, where are we at? We're good. Nah, we're only an hour 20 in. This is great. We
got time, baby.
All right, Andy, what we got? Let's go back to you.
Okay.
What's your next topic?
Well, this is up to you. We don't have to do Cube. I have other decks I could talk about. If anybody cares about Sorin of House Markov, I could talk about that. It's up to you. What would you like me to talk about?
That is a Sorin that I've been keeping my eye on and not sure if I want to get one or what I want to do with it, because I just think it's just a neat... It's a 2-mana Sorin that could be your commander or just be something as part of the 99.
It's a 2-mana Sorin, and I just dropped the link in the notes here. But I have really enjoyed playing this Sorin deck. So I have been asking for an Extort commander, and if you follow me online, if you care about me at all, you would know this.
I do.
Yeah, and it finally happened.
It finally happened. Now, who knew it was going to be on an Orzhov Legend that wasn't for Ravnica? Because everybody as in me, fully expected that it would be an Orzhov.
I understand this.
Right. Some ghost, some from Ravnica, I don't know, some banker. So anyway, turns out it's Sorin. He's like, I'm here to extort you. I need a little bit of money. I don't know. So really strong commander. So human noble. Sorin is not a vampire yet. This is a flip commander from Modern Horizons 3, which these are also my favorite card types in existence. It kind of like tells their like spark story. Mm-hmm. So a 1/4 for 1 and a black mana that has lifelink and extort. So if you don't know what extort is, whenever you cast any spell period, you can pay a white or a black mana, and you each opponent will lose 1 life, and you will
that much
gain
life.
that much. So they'll lose 1, and if in a 4-player game, then you would gain 3. So love. And before, the only way you could get like a lot of extort was through like Cryptghast or like Pontiff of Blight, because Pontiff of Blight would give all your creatures extort. And it was
I got
just
hit
like,
with a Pontiff last night a couple times. It was rude as fuck.
it's
I love
super
Pontiff
rude,
of Blight.
and I love them. So this Sorin, though, is one of, in my opinion, one of the easier of these new flip commanders to flip, because it says at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, exile Sorin, return him transformed. And so 1 single extort trigger is 3 life. So
That's
then you
all
just
you need.
flip this Sorin to the other side, Sorin Ravenous Neonate that has extort as well. Still extorting you as a planeswalker.
The passive planeswalker technology is
we be
great
extorting. Yeah, it's great. And so Sorin comes in with 3 loyalty, has a +2 to make a food. Turns out food, when you eat it, gains you 3 life. So if someone kills this Sorin, you can eat food and flip Sorin back to this Sorin from the command zone. The -1 is really all you're ever gonna do. I mean, the +2 you'll do. The -6 I don't think you will do, but the -1 is Sorin deals damage equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn to any target. So we're probably not just gaining 3 life. We're probably going to gain like 15 life. We're going to gain like 10 life. So then Sorin turns into just a -1 to do 10 or 15. Or their whole life total if you're doubling your life, which of course we are. Why would we not? And then finally a -6 of gain control of target creature. So this is the vampire portion of Sorin. Gain control of a creature. It becomes a vampire in addition to its other types. Put a lifelink counter on it if you control another white permanent other than this creature, that creature, or Sorin. So most of the time you're not going to use this -6 because 1, they're not going to let you to get to 6.
No, we are not. We are not allowing this.
You're also going to be like killing Sorin on your own because you're going to -1. And unless you can protect Sorin, you're probably just going to get like 1 big trigger. So I wanted an extort deck. I've never vibed with life gain. I tried to play Karlov of the Ghost Council. I tried to play other life gain. I just didn't love them. I didn't like having the alt win con if you have 40 or more life, if you have 50 more life. Didn't love that either. It just wasn't fun for me. So I said, well, let's try this Sorin. And turns out this is the one for me. Sorin and I, BFFs. So what I'm trying to do is I do run a decent amount of board wipes. So it can be a little miserable if you are playing a creature only deck. And I recognize that. So this deck does come out when I'm not only facing creature decks. Because I'm playing Toxic Deluge, I'm playing Dam.
Battle of Bywater.
Yeah, and the things that destroy all creatures is great because when Sorin's a planeswalker, turns out don't lose Sorin. So we board wipe second main phase, like always. But cards like Revival and Revenge are great.
Oh, nice.
Revenge sets double your life total. Target opponent loses half their life rounded up. So, they go from 40 to 20. I'm going to double my life from 40 to 80, and then Sorin's going to -1 to deal 40 damage to somebody else. So you half someone and take someone else out. Beacon of Immortality doubles your life total and shuffles right back in. Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Who needs the Sorin to set someone's life total to 10 when you got this Sorin and just freaking cleaving heads off?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is tech for me, but the card Gumdrop Poisoner from Wilds of Eldraine, it has an adventure to make a food, right? For 1 black, just make a food. So that's cool. We put it on layaway. But then when Gumdrop Poisoner enters, it says up to 1 creature gets -X until end turn, where X is the amount of life you've gained this turn. So this is my removal on a creature, and if I've gained 3, sometimes all you need is to gain 3 life.
Yep.
That problematic creature's just gone now. Like, it's minus.
Any utility stuff's just smoked out of existence. Yeah.
I was thinking internally, what's your plan to answer my Erebos, God of the Dead? And here is one of a couple of ways you can wait till he's a creature and then Gumdrop Poisoner his ass out of here.
Yeah, I got to get it out of here. Path to Exile once it becomes a creature.
Well, hold on. No. Hold on. It doesn't, because you're not gaining life with Erebos out.
Oh, right. I'm not doing math, Lamau.
Oh, no, you're right. Okay, well, we're going to wait
we'll Toxic Deluge
for Path and Swords. Toxic Deluge, well, if it's not a creature, though.
If it's not a creature now, but...
Yeah, when it's not a creature, what are we doing? And it looks like you do have an answer for that as well in the form of Anguished Unmaking. Get his ass out of here.
We're just going to cast Erase. That's it.
You know, the other thing that I really like is Luxior, Giada's Gift. So a card that I always find very difficult to put into decks because it makes your planeswalker not a creature. So equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each counter on it. And equipped permanent isn't a planeswalker and is a creature in addition to its other types. And it gets obviously +1/+1 for its loyalty. So it came in clutch a couple of times because I had like the win ready to go, but people weren't able to swing at me. So I was able to Luxior so they couldn't swing directly at my planeswalker. So that was very, very helpful. And a card that I've actually found to be a ton of fun that I don't really think gets talked about is the card Life Insurance, which is another enchantment
This
that
card.
has a story.
Where did I see? I saw Life Insurance be
I
played the other
played
day.
Life Insurance, I think yesterday or the day before that, something like that.
No, when we played, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in the
okay, yeah, it was
Esper
you, yeah.
Combat pre-con and played Life Insurance and had to just like committed to the role of like, okay, I need to extort every spell after this for the rest of the game or this will
Yes.
kill me.
It will kill you.
Oh,
Yes.
hey, Quinn, there's a board wipe happening, and Quinn's like, y'all, you need to chill the fuck out. Like, I am dying over here.
There's
Please
like
stop.
8 creatures on board and people are wiping the board and I'm just like, oh, fuck.
Feeling a little woozy, man.
This
Yeah,
life
just
insurance,
makes so
this
much
life
fucking
insurance
money if
isn't
people are
paying
like
out.
that. But man, it wants so much of you, but it's such a wild ride. That's like Kothafed Soul Hoarder. It's one of those cards that you gotta just accept that it will kill you, but you'll have a great time.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of cards in this deck that you see them come down and you're like, oh, that's a problem. But then Soren's the problem. So I'd rather just I like to play the problem. I like to be proactive instead of reactive, I guess. That's definitely what this deck is doing. So, you know, you put out Veto Thorn of the Dusk Rose and someone goes, no, you can't have them. Like, okay, fine. I'll throw out Shield of the Apocalypse. So you can't have that either. Oh, okay, well, fine. Then
If you keep being the problem, everyone will just run out of resources, and then you're like, cool,
Exactly.
I still have more bangers after this.
Exactly.
And then you've got the
Cabal
one ring to
Council of
protect you from the
Allocation.
aggro that you draw.
Yeah, true,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Vizkopa Guildmage is also one of those whenever you gain life. There is redundancy in like Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond.
Yeah, you know.
I put those combos in my deck. But I like them. Game's got to end, and I just think they're fun. And we're getting another version of that in
The new
Yeah,
Van
you
Foundation.
can do
Vampires.
that with so many different pieces now. It's wild.
just
But
we
yeah,
got
I respect the Vizkopa Guildmage very much because I play Black-White Bats, and you can just hammer that button like 8 times and then go to combat with 5 bats and be like, all right, take 45 or whatever.
Yep.
take 45. Take 45. And then the last thing I thought that I was very smart doing is the Land Witches Clinic, which turns out I did get a judge ruling counts for your Sorin. So pay 2 tap, target commander gains lifelink. So
Yes!
Sorin minus
Awesome.
1s, he deals damage. So you gain that amount of life in addition to what you've already gained. So.
Yes, that's just like War of the Spark Planeswalker Soren, who gives your creatures and planeswalkers
Walker's
lifelink
lifelink,
and deals
yeah.
damage, so you gain life.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've really enjoyed this one, so much so that I ended up ordering artist proofs from the artist, and they came in and I had sketches done on the back, and I just love them so much. So this is one of those decks that I think is going to stay in the stable for a while as well. This one
Love
was
to hear that.
very
I do see you've got some of my favorite enchantments in here. That Lunar Convocation, I've been
It's a neat little
loving
card.
that one so much. It's fucking stonks, dude.
Yeah, there's just it does it all. You make people lose life. You can make bats, or you can draw a card. Like,
And you've got Dark Confidant. I absolutely adore that. I've been playing that a lot lately, and I feel like the power at any price, or greatness at any cost, there we go, that's the flavor text. So true, bestie.
It is. And you know, a card that I didn't get to play, but it was always expensive from the day it came out with the Lost Caverns of Ixalan Commander is the Charismatic Conqueror. And honestly, I feel like the reason I just don't see it as much is because the card is very expensive. It's like almost $30. And once cards start hitting like 8 to like 15, I'm like, do I need this card? I don't know if I absolutely need this card or not. But
yeah.
I wanted to try it out. And so this card's really good. It's a 2/2 with Vigilance for 1 and a white. It says whenever an artifact or creature enters untapped under an opponent's control, they may tap it. If they don't, you make a 1/1 vampire token with lifelink. And I have played this card against a Kranko mob boss deck, and they were just like, I don't really want mine to enter tapped. I need blockers for other things.
Then we'll have a vampire army to match your
lifelinkers.
Yeah, they make lifelinkers, so it's like if they don't want me to have the creature, they just have to come in untap, and then they're So it was this has been a very this is like massively overperformed. And I feel like if this card had cost 4 mana, it would be much closer to what people were thinking it was going to do. But broken. Play
this
that card.
is. I've been thinking about.
Really strong.
I've been thinking about this a lot. This is kind of a weird tangent, but I've been thinking about this a lot for what people, whether it's content creators or people talking about playing high power casual or playing CDH or whatever, right? And very often what it comes down to is like, what is the mana value of this card? And what is like, and maybe how many pips does it have, right? And so often, like, if the lower you can go on the curve, obviously, like, and the more powerful it is, like, if Charismatic Conqueror was 1 more mana, or 2 more mana, or it was, like, double white and 1 or whatever, like, I think people's assessment of it would be just a little bit different, but obviously the higher mana value you go for a similar effect. Like, people is either being like, this is the greatest thing ever, this thing is worth every penny I paid for it, and other people are like, this thing's 5 mana, trash. And you're like, fine then, I'll take the $5 trash piece and do something with it. But
that's why I'm playing the 13-cent life insurance, okay? It's 13 cents, folks. The card is freaking sweet.
Yeah, no. Life insurance is a card that I am trying to figure out where to put it. And it's always a card that's on the brain. And it's like, it's 5 mana. I don't care. The minute this thing comes out...
Play it in... Oh, you can't Luris, damn it.
Yeah, no. I have Shay Cormac in Luris as a deck, and
I was like, oh, that's perfect.
I'm
killing
killing everything.
Wait, damn it, you're a cat.
Yeah, so I'm like, do I finally just... I had described, Andy, I don't know if you'll... Have you played, not Baldur's Gate, what the fuck? Elden Ring. Have you played Elden Ring or know anything about it?
No, but I've watched. I'm familiar with.
Okay,
I'm familiar with.
One of the near end bosses is the previous Elden Lord.
Okay.
And he's got this giant spectral cat on his shoulders, keeping him in check. So, Lord Godfrey's like, big hulk of a man, his cat's on his shoulders, keeping him in check. And then when he's like, all right, we're down, he fucking tears the spectral cat off of Deke, just fucking kills his cat. And then he's like, I'm gonna manhandle you like a pro wrestler, let's fucking go. And I'm like, is that what I gotta do with Shay Cormac by taking Sharosh off his shoulders and just being like, here's life insurance, it's time to throw down? And the answer is, I don't know if I could do that to people. It would be a bloodbath and people would be mad at me. Shay Cormac is just like, kill that, get counters on me, kill that thing. You got a creature? Dead too.
Wait, is that the one with the
bounty county?
Yes. Yes, let's go bounty county.
But yeah, I don't know. That is kind of like what I'm thinking about if I decide to just get rid of Luris. I think, what do I have? Furia, Judge of Valor. But that deck wants to be, like, low curve to get the Furia's effect off. So, like, I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But life insurance is always on the brain. Silly little card.
Yeah.
We all hope we have it.
No.
I will say, looking at this art, though, I would try to attempt to have that much money. If you threw that much at me, I'd try.
All right. Let's Scrooge McDuck it up.
I'm going to Scrooge McDuck this game. All the money in the world won't buy back a pulse. That's true, but I still would like that much money.
All right.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Well, you guys want to talk some cube?
Yeah.
Dude,
a little
what you
bit
got
of
for me?
cube. Okay. So I, over the holiday break last year, had 2 weeks off and said, I really want to play some more cube. And I have a Ravnica cube, but it's obviously not a commander format cube. And so I said, well, let's get a commander format cube. So I looked at a bunch of cubes online and how they were built and said, let's build a cube. So I have a Commander Cube. It's on Cube Cobra. If anybody wants to check out the list, it is a 960 card cube specifically because I wanted to be able to support 2 pods of 8 people. So that's the exact amount of cards you would need for everybody to be able to draft in 2 different pods. And we have played this cube at different Commandy Fest events. So you may have seen Commandy Fest referenced. The name,
Yes.
The name originated by Mr. Andy Zupke of the Scrap Trawlers fame, EDH Rec. And I stole it because my name's also Andy. And so we had a Commandy Fest in Michigan, and we had Commandy Fest in Wisconsin. So anyway, this Commander Cube is drafted just like you draft Commander Legends. So you pick 2 cards every time the pack comes around. And ultimately, you're going to build a Commander deck with color identity restriction. You're going to play with 40 life, and you have to draft your commander. So there are 2 commanders seeded into every pack. And so you can pick late, you can pick early. Almost all of the partner commanders are in there. Everybody has access to a prismatic Piper. But it's a lot of fun. It's what you would expect for the generic archetypes. Azorius is going to blink things. Rakdos is going to sacrifice. Gruul be grueling with Stompy and smash in your face. So, not a ton of like originality there. I'm trying to make something that everybody will enjoy and they will see old cards and new cards. But I've had a ton of fun drafting this, and it lets you play cards that you may not put into a regular commander deck into a cube here that you ultimately draft. But it always feels like every card's a banger. But I feel like every card in here has a purpose in a commander that you wish that you had been able to draw. So, build around. So, you can draft on Cube Cobra, so everybody can play test it if you're interested. Everything's all set up so that you'll have 2 legends per pack. And ultimately, you're going to build a 60 card deck. That is the one difference. You're not building 100 card decks because it is a cube format. We're not going to be drafted 100. And then basic lands can be added, but you're drafting lots of cool lands, lots of cool creatures. And I think everybody's enjoyed it so far. There are cards we've taken out that were pretty miserable and someone did not want to, and I get it. Like we used to have, I think Expropriate used to be in here. And ultimately we decided, that is not the jam. What's the blue creature that when agent of
treachery? Yeah.
Agent of treachery, is that the one that
You
steals?
take something, and if you have
Yeah.
3 or more card things, you draw a card or whatever.
Yeah. We found that one to be straight up miserable when someone was
Yeah.
really able to get the Azorius deck together. And then also, if there's no one on this planet that hates Stonehorn Dignitary, then I have expired. And so every Stonehorn Dignitary and the like. There's a blue version from an unset that like steals not only combat, but it could take someone's upkeep or it could take their draw, whatever. I took those out. So I finally said, I'm going to curate this to cards that I don't enjoy losing to as well, because if I don't enjoy it, there's a good chance other people really don't enjoy it. So this one does not get as much play because I really like to try to get 8 people here.
Yeah.
For the cube enthusiasts that are still looking to play Commander, but don't always have a group of 8 or 16 for big events, and you have a group of 4 regularly, I was introduced to a Tiny Leaders mini cube when I was at Commander Sealed. So
This might be what I need.
I think this is what you need, and I think you want to do this in Mardu, because at the beginning of the show you said, I want a Mardu cube, and I think this is going to be it. This is going to be the intro to that. So the folks from CubeCon, Barely Lupe on Blue Sky, Dan, had a Jeskai Tiny Leaders mini cube. So the whole premise is that it is a 4-player cube that's kind of shuffled up pretty quickly, drafted, and played. And it's based off of the theme of Tiny Leaders. So all cards are 3 mana or less. And so the one thing about this cube, though, is that the lands have to be drafted. So if you don't draft enough lands, you won't have lands to play in your deck. So it's considered a desert cube. So you have to be mindful, demure, and mindful, and cutesy about drafting your...
Yeah, get his ass.
Yeah. About drafting. So There are also lots of deserts in this. It's referred to as a desert bar cube. And the one thing that is unique is like if you're running out of lands to draft and you need to draft an off-color land, you can just play an off-color land in your deck. It's just gonna be what it is.
That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah, so I played with this Jeskai cube, and that was super duper fun. So I said, well, I really like Grixis, and so I want to build this with Grixis cards. So the list has there are 17 multicolored legends that you can draft, and they all had to be 3-mana or less. So it took a lot of time to figure out which ones were actually important for Grixis.
Yeah.
And there are 2 3-color legends that fit the Tiny Leaders theme that I liked. I think there's actually 4. But we have Anhalo the Painter, so we got that casualty. And then we've got Marchesa, Dealer of Death, which is cares about committing a crime and then being able to just get like card advantage. So those are the 2 3-color options. But otherwise, you're dealing with, Izzet, which is caring about Spellslinger or playing your second card to investigate, like Malcolm the Eyes. For black, I cared a lot about sacrifice, so I was able to put in Timerat the Murder King. We've got Jury Master of Review, and then for Dimir, I cared about historic and then cards in your graveyard. So we've got Lazav, Wearer of Faces, or we've got Raoul, Troubleshooter from the
Fallout.
Fallout set. So, you draft these and then you're building a very small deck. So you're building a 40 card deck. So it's not anything crazy. And your life total's 20. And then you just play short games. And this one I have play tested plenty of times on here. I have not yet gotten to play it with friends, but I can't wait to play this. And the next time that all of us are at an event, we need to play this together, because I think this is the way that I can start getting to play cards that I don't see show up in Commander in an easy way that is not too much of a time commitment or like a brain buster. This is not too complicated.
So I got a random tangent here because a friend of mine had moved away from Lower Mainland BC. Just too expensive. Work is what it is, whatever. But he's like, cool. Out of this new city, out in the middle of nowhere, and they have a Tiny Leaders scene at the LGS.
Yes.
So I was like, what the fuck? It's 2024. Who's playing Tiny Leaders? But
Right.
This whole premise, like, I'm looking at this list. I'm scrolling through it. I like how you have dupes of the lands to allow that. Because, like, how many times are you going to add every single variant of... Here's a Rakdos deck that's Foreboding Ruins and Dragon Skull Summit and whatever. Like, not everyone's going to be able to it. Not to mention, like, the deserts are also, like, great. But, like, I'm looking at the list and I'm like, there's low-to-the-ground stuff. There's stuff that has, like, really cool interactions with each other. Like, how you can play NT Sentinel of the Sun with Conspiracy Theorist in, like, a red whatever deck. You discard something and you can put stuff into exile or cast it later or do whatever. And you got... clue stuff, like there's just, and it's low to the ground, like you said. It's quick, it's easy. I don't know how.
I'm looking at this black section, and it just like looks like my Ashnod Flesh Mechanist deck. Like there's Ashnod, there's like 4 or 5 guys who you can return from the graveyard to the battlefield, or who get benefits from being sacrificed.
It's the Book of Vile Darkness.
It's my guys. I love all these guys.
The whole Vecna crew's in here.
Oh, yes.
And you can assemble Vecnatron.
You can assemble Vecna, which is one of the nods that I got. So when I was talking to Dan, the originator of the Jeskai version, I said, I got to run this list by you. I had to give feedback, right? So we changed it quite a bit. And I said, what do you think? All right, I like this. And when he saw the hand and the Eye of Vecna and then the Book of Vile Darkness, like somebody is going to want to assemble that. And that's what I wanted. I want someone to see a card and go, oh, the others have to be in here. I'm going to do that.
You got to do it. Yeah.
Make it happen. But you have to be cognizant of the fact that you start with 20 life and we're trying to keep life gain out. I do not think that I kept life gain out entirely, and I wanted to put Jaren Corrupted Bishop in here, but I was advised, hey, game should end and it might be difficult. Seeing as you're starting at 20, Jaren can flip pretty easily when you start it.
Yeah, so this is making me think about my Killer Queen Dan deck, and it's also making me think about the Marchesa Dealer of Death variant that I'm making. I got some stuff coming in, so I'm getting to it. But the life gain thing has been pretty impactful, I've realized, from just like everyone's at 25 life and everyone's drawn from the same library, but if everyone's gaining various forms of life, no one's really getting ahead or falling too far behind. Mm-hmm. So I could definitely see how, especially with this like little curve, like you said, I imagine drafting this is probably a little bit easier than your normal cube because of like your assessments. Like, I got my commander locked in, I just need to get these black or red cards or whatever, and then you all shuffle up and then you play, and then you're in and you're out, and it seems pretty great. And the other thing too, once you finally sit down and do this testing and everything, it'll come up pretty. It'll show up pretty quickly what is an actual problem.
That's what I was thinking. You know, that's when we were looking at it. We're like, I think you'll know after 1 or 2 games, and the games don't go more than. I mean, they don't go more than like 40 minutes. You know, you're not like assembling some big thing. We're not playing things like blind obedience or, you know, propaganda. You know, we're not doing those types of things. So they end up, they move. So, you know, but looking, I've got Sir Ginger, the meal ender, because I just love Sir Ginger and I have nowhere to put Sir Ginger. Like, I don't have a home. And I said, this cube's the home. It's colorless. It cares about things going to the graveyard. It cares about artifacts. And but I don't know how big I can get our power to be and then sacrifice her and gain life. I mean, maybe it will matter, maybe it won't. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool idea, and I really want to see what other people build, because now we have one for Jessica, we have one for Grixis, and I was looking at building one for initially I was looking at like Teamer, but not all of the wedges and shards are equal with the number of actual 3-color command, because it has to be just the 3 colors. It can't cost anything extra, except for I think like Jund has the Indoraptor, and I think because that one is a hybrid cost, it still counts.
It does no, like it's still the color identity, but like you want it to have the 3 pips. And
make it cost the thing. Make them do the thing. So. Yeah. I've really been enjoying Cube, and that I think has been something that's really kept me intrigued. So looking at new sets coming out from a Tiny Leaders Cube perspective was very interesting, because it was a way for me to lop everything that costs more than 3 mana off, which was much more manageable. If you're like, you know what, right now I'm happy with my commander decks, I want to look at things that came out recently for a Grixis Tiny Leaders Cube. The number of cards you need to look at is much smaller.
Yeah.
They don't all fit the bill. But I do think that this will be super fun. And anybody who's interested in this list or wants to play test it can actually go directly to the list on Cube Cobra. I love sharing it. So
well, I'm putting it in the description so everyone can go check that out, because like this list is sweet. Looking at it,
I want to play this. There's fucking Flame Wars in here. Hell yes, dude.
Yes, yeah. No, like this is the other thing too, especially in a day and age where it's like, what, as the creator of this thing, it's like, what do you want out of it? And if you don't want Universes Beyond in your deck, cool. You don't have to put Flame War or anything in it. But as someone who loves this shit, seeing Raoul and fucking Flame War and Magar, the magic strings, whatever. But
I don't know how to pronounce it, but there's an Assassin's Creed at the very top.
Yes, I was just gonna say you've got Basim Ibn Ishaq.
Basim.
Yes,
my dude.
Fucking awesome. Like, you're able to, because they have such cool mechanical stuff in Universes Beyond. It's like, why would you not want to try to include it, especially if it fits? Like, you're like, I want to make red-black artifacts. Flame War, go nuts, you know.
Go for it.
So yeah, like it's just cool. It's a good way, and like it's a good way to like flex your designer muscles a bit when it comes to like, what is the experience I want, but also what is an experience that I think is accessible for other people to get into quickly. And yeah.
I think the other thing to remember is that you can draft with friends on Cube Cobra. So you can do the draft, like enter the number of people you would like, and then you can take that list and export it into Moxfield, and everybody can play it online through Spelltable. So it's very accessible if folks don't want to spend the money on the cardboard either. You can do it completely digitally.
Okay, well,
Oh yeah.
all right, Cube Cobra, I didn't know your game. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's very fun, and I think it's an awesome site. And if folks haven't played Cube, you should check out Cube. It's very cool.
Yeah, of the cubes that I have been involved with in the past, like, we had crazy powerful stuff going around back in like 2012. Like, everyone's like, cool, we're gonna put the titans in, we're gonna put the swords in, we're gonna put, because it's all like new Phyrexia like standard at the time, like, we're gonna put Grizzlebrand and Worldfire and all this other shit. You're like, all right, yeah, we're gonna play with fucking Grizzlebrand, all right, sounds good to me. So yeah, no, all right.
Sheesh.
So, looking for... Oh, jeez. All right, well...
Listen, I gave you homework on your own show. Go make
Well-
one for Mardu now.
Well, now... Okay, fine. Fine! All right, fine. Damn it.
Could have drafted that on my desk in 2 weeks.
I got much to think about.
Yeah, you
please.
do.
Okay, what do we go into next here? Because that was pretty great. All right, I'm going to talk about a commander variant. Because I got to go out and play Magic yesterday. I have been freed from the Divinity Original Sin 2 hell that me and my girlfriend have been in for like the last 2 weeks or so. We finally beat the game. It was a
Congratulations.
it was a wonderful time. The save, the amount of hours saved on it was over 90 hours. Good old CRPG experience. I'm still playing it in like a single player save on the side, and my girlfriend's like, no, we're done. I'm like, but I can just do this whenever. So we're done. So I gotta go play Magic. One of our we've got a different assortment of places where we're able to play. On one end of a very long public transportation commute, we have a fenced neighborhood. It's a bunch of townhouses with the exact same layout. It's all boring and drab as shit. But you know what? They got like a very nice party room with like a pool in the backyard. You can have barbecue, whatever. So we go out there sometimes. It's really nice to play out there. In the middle, someone's got their old rustic garage. They have framed Magic cards in the little corner. They got like random nerd memorabilia all over their shelves, and they have power tools and like giant saw blades and elk antlers and bikes hanging in the rafters, and then their art supplies. It's like really cool, really rustic. It's cooling down, so like who knows how long we'll be able to hang out in the garage, but it's been fun. And then on the other end, that's in the middle. So then the other end completely in the city, we have someone that has what we call the church basement, but it's on the 3rd floor. And the reason we call it this, and it's very silly, is that it's a social room that, like, I guess they use for, like, strata meetings for the apartment or whatever. But, you know, it's got a bathroom, it's got chairs and desks, it's got a kitchen and a fridge and everything. But when you step into the room, you step down a couple stairs, and it's, like, old, like, 90s decor. Like, it's got carpet with like a pattern on it. There's no like wallpaper, but it's very kind of like old-ish.
Okay.
And we just call it the church basement, despite the fact that it's on the 3rd floor. It's just it's
it
old
feels
and it's rustic.
emotionally like the church basement, despite being on the 3rd floor. I
Yeah.
understand.
And so 6 people showed up. Thank God, because I don't think I could handle 5 people, another 5-player game. I've been playing a lot of 5-player games this year, and with this group of people, you know, everyone plays fun stuff, and we played, like, variants of, like, Star, where, like, these are my allies. We're not doing color restrictions, because we're like, I'm not going to play a red-themed deck and have my enemies play whatever, right? We're not going to do that. But this time around, we're like, all right, we got 6 people. We're going to split up into pods of 3, but let's try Gunslinger as a variant. Now, it's a spin-off of Kingdom, where instead of having a king, the knight, 2 bandits, and a assassin, and then with a 6th player, a vizier, it's a spin on Western themes, where it's the sheriff, the deputy, 2 outlaws, the gunslinger, and the incredibly racist and old-fashioned we called it the warrior, but it's called the brave. And it's like, I don't know, this thing was made a few years ago, but the difference is between Kingdom and Gunslinger is that the win conditions, some of the win conditions are shared, and some of the rules are shared. In Kingdom, the king starts, or the monarch or whatever, starts at 50 life and goes first, and they're publicly known as the king. The sheriff starts at 60 life, starts first, and is publicly known as the sheriff. Bandits, or the outlaws, have to kill the sheriff. So that's still the same. The deputy still has to protect the sheriff, but none of the other roles are publicly known until they're dead. Compared to Kingdom, where you actually don't share the role until someone says, like, the assassin kills everyone, I'm the assassin, wherever, right? And when it comes to the warrior and the gunslinger, which is usually, like, only in the 5-player position. Or I don't know how it works, but so the win condition for the warrior and the gunslinger, if they would die, you keep all your lands, you shuffle your hand, your board, and your graveyard into your deck, you draw a new fresh 7, and you go back up to 20 life. So this is the gunslinger back from the grave. You know, it's the second half. The villains thought they got away, and he digs himself out, and he's back for round 2, you know?
I've never seen a single movie. What the fuck? Is this a thing that happens?
This is a Western thing. Oh, don't worry about it. And then...
I'm very Eastern where I'm located. No, this is interesting. I'm not familiar.
Okay, yeah. And then the win condition for the brave, or we called it the warrior, or is that... So... They have a shared condition of they have to kill each other. But then they have to have at least one bandit dead, and the deputy has to be dead. But the warrior's gimmick is that if they would die, they mutually kill whoever killed them. Just dead. Like, doesn't matter if you're at 100 life, doesn't matter if you're a lich, you lose the game.
So they just, if they die, they reveal their secret role, and they're like, oh shit, you were the warrior, I die too.
Yeah, so...
Interesting. It's like adding board game rules to a 5-player game.
Cool. And in this case, the 6-player game. But
okay, yeah.
But, so it becomes, very much like Kingdom, it's a political part of, you have to play mind games with everyone to be like, how do I imply or bluff the sheriff that I'm the deputy when I'm not the deputy? Why does the sheriff not know who their deputy is? I couldn't tell you in this hypothetical game world scenario, but it is very funny. And the warrior has this shadow over everyone of being like, if you just outright kill this random person, you have a 1 in 5 chance of just losing the game. So
take the shot.
So
go for it.
But if you're the gunslinger, you have a comeback mechanic. Sure, you lose, part of your immediate, board state, but you get to keep your lands, and you go back up to 20 life. So, but you have to not lose that second life before you figure out who the warrior is. So, everyone's kind of just sussing each other out, while the bandits can possibly have free reign on the 60 life sheriff. And we kind of figured it out last night, where someone who was a bandit was like, fuck it, I'm just attacking the sheriff. Hi, I'm the bandit. And everyone's like, oh my god, what? And then we're just fucking going cracking into them, and you're just like, okay, whoa, calm the fuck down, dude. That. So,
and you check their card, and they're not even the fucking bandit.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, this is just a regular commander game, and I just don't like who's the sheriff right now. Just go. So there was a bit of sass being thrown around last night. It was really fun to try to figure out how to navigate all of it. For the first one, I played Dargo and Francisco, and some people were getting spooked, so they were keeping me in check. And the second
That's what
time,
you get for putting a sack outlet with trample and large in the command zone.
Did some cool stuff, but unfortunately didn't get any form of wins there. And then I was playing Raton Hackathon, for the second time. It's like, we'll just unironically play an assassin and then also be the bandit.
Sick.
But and then unfortunately I tipped my hand, but at that point it was already way too late, and me and the other bandit, who I figured out very quickly was the bandit because they're like hashtag YOLO, let's fucking go for it. It was like, all right, well, I gotta. Joel was swinging a Skitharix Mimeoplasm with 12 +1 counters on it from a Gulta. It was just like, fuck it, I'm swinging it at the sheriff, and everyone's like, oh yeah, and then someone mortified it. I was like, can't have shit around here.
Rude.
But yeah, just overall that day, the testing of Gunslinger was pretty fun. If you're wanting to try to find a way to not just have a bunch of 3-player games, which sometimes if that's all you have in one night, sometimes it's better than a 5-player game if you can't get that 4-player game in. And it's just a way to make sure everyone's included. Of course, it does take some time, and it does require some brain work to be like, who the fuck is at this table? What is happening? And how, and if you're anything that needs to be kept on the radar, what do you do to keep under the radar until you can for surely got the shot on the sheriff or whoever? It's pretty fun. It's pretty interesting.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
A shout out to the brave folks who invent formats like this rather than just like, I don't know, having 2 people play 60 card.
Listen, the more people that can be involved in Magic in a single game, the better. But there is a point where too many is too many. And these two kind of...
Let's both pull up Boxfield Playtester on our phones and just play standard while they game.
Yeah, no thank you. Okay, we are over... roughly, depending on editing, will be about the 2-hour mark now. Let's go to Andy's suggestions for what is supposed to be our soapbox section. But I think all of these are very interesting to address and talk about, just because...
Do you want to do a topical? I think the second one with the limited print runs, but I have a rant that I can start with.
Okay, yeah.
You can do the secret layer portion because
sure.
I have a rant.
Go for it.
One of these.
Love it.
Okay.
All right.
Soapbox time. Mini soapbox time, and then whatever.
Let it rock.
Okay. So let's talk about Secret Lairs with limited print runs.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go into the limited print run section, I have a bone to pick with the Marvel Secret Lair that's coming out, because there is a beautiful card, one of the new legends, that would have been perfect for a deck that I love so very much, but it never gets any love because they've moved away from putting any sort of mechanic in its original color identities. And if you know me, you know that I'm talking about Noindar Royal Shaper. And that is an Azorius legend that cares about casting instants and sorceries, and you can animate your lands. So they become a 0/0 elemental, and you put 3+1/+1 counters on them. So it's like Spellslinger, and the Awaken mechanic was in the Oath of the Gatewatch battle for Zendikar, like block. So they cared about making your lands creatures. And there is a new legend that would have been really, really cool to be able to put in Noindar, but they added green because they stole this and put this into the Bant color identity. And I have no idea why Bant or Naya get everything now. They added red and green to almost every card that cares about animating lands or doing things with lands. And that is the card Black Panther Wakandan King, which is a very cool card. It's a 2/2 human noble hero for green and a white that has first strike. And whenever Black Panther or another creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target land you control. That does exactly what Noindar wants. I want I want counters on my lands. And then it also says Mind Vibranium, pay 3, move all +1/+1 counters from a land onto target creature. If one or more +1/+1 counters are moved this way, you gain that much life and draw a card. So I'd be able to then shift things around as I need and draw cards and gain life in Noindar, but I can't because they don't let Azorius have shit anymore when it comes to animating your lands.
Okay,
Truly
so
cannot have shit around here.
I can't
Andy,
have
they
anything.
did it once. Get over it.
Stop. No, we can't. All I want is for to be able to have an Azorius lands deck again.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Yes,
cool
yeah,
if you
no.
have if you're running a deck that can run green and white, I mean, there are commanders that obviously could play around with things like this. I mean, Cross Defense Contractor cares about moving things around and putting shield counters on. I mean, like, that's cool. Parry the Pulverizer, very cool. I just really wish that I would have gotten, this in either, like, I get why Black Panther is green-white here. I get it. I can't have everything. But listen, I get so bummed every time I see it. So now I just need to put together a Bant Lands Matters deck so I can put all these cards together in them. So that is my rant that I can't have anything when it comes to lands. But let's talk about Secret Lairs. I think the Marvel Secret Lairs, very cool. I do think limited print run sets, we've known this. We saw this before when we had limited print run Secret Lairs. They don't go over well. Some people ultimately end up very upset. This one had some weird backdoor channels.
This one was really bad.
The line. It was really bad. I mean, you can't see it, but just off to the side here, I have an apology uncut sheet from War of the Spark due
it's
to
very beautiful.
the disaster that was War of the Spark Mythic Edition from Hasbro's website, where everybody got it in their cart and then clicked as fast as they could to check out, and then we were all physically charged, and then they were like, "Ooh, so many of you are going to just get refunds. We're so sorry." And while it didn't ultimately impact me and people got refunds, I mean, like, that does impact people, and so it's unfortunate that with this Secret Lair, the line was over 4.5 hours. And what we found out is, one, the site crashed because there were so many people there. But then when it got back up, there was a way for you to put things in your cart and get in line. And then if you actually typed in the URL for the checkout or for the cart, if you typed out to checkout, you got to actually just skip line and you just got to check out because it just knew that you had things in your cart, and you've now made it to the page where you
just pay for it.
Go to your cart and you just pay for it. So I got mine. I was very happy and got very lucky, I think, at 1 hour and 33 minutes of being in line and watching my computer.
I wasn't paying like 100% attention because I knew I was in there for a while, but I think I was coming up about nearly 2 hours ish, or just within 2 hours. And I only was just getting one, right? Like, brutal.
I did the bundle. I did the bundle, so I got the group of them. But at 4 minutes, it jumped back up to 33 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Oh, and
I ended up making it. So I got lucky because they patched the jump ahead in line issue. They're going to make as much money as they want off of a Secret Lair. So if their goal was just to make money, they could have just charged the amount of money that they wanted to make and done it as an unlimited print run. People were like, I don't care if I have to wait 6 months for it to arrive. I just wanted the thing. So I don't know what the benefit of making it a limited print run was, to be honest, because both Magic players and Marvel collectors and just fans of Marvel alike wanted this.
I'm sure there's some suit in some boardroom somewhere who did a calculation that showed that one of these was a better option for making number go up than the other. But
sure.
I don't know, dude.
But one is...
It really sucks for everybody who's not like a scalper.
Yes! Well, okay. Like, oh man, what was it? I can't remember what podcast or whoever I was listening to recently that was pointing out that, like, from a customer satisfaction standpoint, like, people are getting fucked either way, right? That's what's just happening. Either people or even game stores that are trying to buy these Secret Lairs, and if it's unlimited print, and depending on what it is, people might have to wait months at a time to finally get their product. And I can't remember who was talking about it, but they were pointing out that if you're an LGS, you have to wait like that long to get the product, and then 6 months later or whatever, you finally get it. But then who wants to buy it at that point? Because either they've already gotten it, or it's already been out for other people at some point, or people are just like don't even care anymore. Which, okay, that's something. But in this point, okay, scalpers, period. Either way, it doesn't matter. But it's the fact that it's like now that there's this artificial scarcity being done by WotC, and now people have to deal with the fact that, maybe the value of the cards would have gone down if it was unlimited print. Sure, who doesn't buy a $5 card? It goes down to pennies. Like, that happens all the time. But now you're going to have, like, Iron Man or whoever, or, like, the Soul Ring or whatever Groot bonus sheet cards coming out is not going to be cheap. So even if you did want to get one card, you might as well have bought the Secret Lair, or now you're going to be out of pocket for the same amount of money for one card. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I don't think there's any good way. There's no good balance between the two, because it's a extra supplemental product that you're taking directly from the teat of WotC, and it's just the shit. It's just not great. Like, I'm not a big Secret Lair apologist or an appreciator. Like, I've gotten a couple, and it's not cheap, and it tariffs and all that other stuff coming across the border. This shit's expensive. It's gonna be a mixed bag, and if you got what you got and you genuinely wanted to get it, and you're not a fucking scalper piece of shit, then great. You lucked out. If you are a scalper piece of shit, fuck you. I hope all the cards get rained on, or the vehicle gets in an accident and the driver comes out okay, but all the product in the truck goes up in flames or something.
Damn, get hexed, nerd.
So, unrelated, well, kind of related to scalpers and unrelated to Magic. So Gundam Seed Freedom was a movie that came out earlier this year. And it was so big in Japan, it made boatloads of money, Gundam's dying / welcome back Gundam kind of thing, you know? Same thing we're going through with Magic. But, like most things, like most collector's item, when they were releasing the Gunpla kits, like the plastic model kits for these things, people were like, well, I want to get this one, but if scalpers get it, it's going to come up for like $40+ by the time it comes out to like North America or whatever. And this is the one time I think whoever, like, I don't know if it's Bandai Namco or whoever, like, prints the kits, were like, we are going to keep printing them. And they're going to be as dirt cheap as possible. So you're going to get your $20 kit by the time it comes out. And the scalpers were like, no! I can't make money off this! No! And it's like, get fucked. It's just, I don't know. I wish WotC was able to do something like that as a middle finger to people who are intentionally scalping, but there's not much, like, the back end entrance thing to, like, cut the line. If they can deal with that, great. But yeah, it's a messed up system. It is what it is. We're just gonna have to see if they go back on the decision or change something up for the next few Secret Lairs.
I just ask all of you Storm mages in the chat to be responsible with the cards that you're giving Storm. Thanks.
Quinn.
Storm force of nature.
Quinn. It's not gonna work. You're preaching to no one.
Listen, you're going to give that time warp Storm one time, and everybody's going to either never let Storm resolve or be like, I don't want to play against that deck.
Honestly, she should just be kill on sight, to be honest.
Be responsible with the spells that you're giving Storm, all right?
But still, yeah, good topic. What's the next one you got here for us?
We've got 7 Niv Mizzets. Is 7 enough? We now have 7 Niv Mizzets with the newest Niv Mizzet.
Yeah, keep printing Niv Mizzets. I think we do need more. Deadass.
Look, if we're talking about beloved Magic the Gathering characters in the Magic the Gathering IP, I'm saying that intentionally just to get a rise out of people.
You're getting a rise out of me. Stop doing that.
Niv Mizzet is obviously one of those characters at the top of the list. Like, I'm sick and tired of Nicol Bolas. If we need a new dragon to keep coming out and having new versions of it, sure, let's be Niv Mizzet. Because, you know what, we had Niv Mizzet Supreme. What's the new one called? Niv Mizzet the whatever?
Visionary.
It is Visionary.
Oh, okay,
Niv Mizzet
cool.
Visionary.
He's so full of himself. It's so funny.
Great.
And every time we print another one, I imagine Niv Mizzet sitting there posing for his portrait like, yes, another one of me. Of course you would want to do that. I am
Get
perfect.
my good side.
Exactly.
Like, you know, I don't know. I have absolutely zero complaints of them continuously making another Niv Mizzet, because, like, am I going to play it? I don't know at this point, but
The fact that the new one combos with 2 of the old ones is even more just like Niv Mizzet circle jerking himself. Like, bro.
I love
snap my
him for
teeth.
that. I love Niv Mizzet, and I would love us to keep throwing more Niv Mizzets into the into the factory, the mold, whatever they are using. It's like the insert that meme. I guess we're doing Niv Mizzet now.
Yeah.
Brand new Niv Mizzet just dropped.
I don't know. How more iconic can you be, when it comes to just Niv Mizzet? So, yeah, hell, let's get more of them. Why not?
More Niv Mizzet. All right. Question.
Okay.
Basic lands not matching. Should we shun those people?
I cannot do that in good conscience because you can play panorama lands from Kamigawa, which technically do not match if you're playing them like that. And they do still stylistically go together. So that looks really good. Additionally, there's the bit of choosing a unique full art land for every basic. And intentionally having them not match, that's a very cool bit. I like that. And also, I can't fault the cards on my desk construction of I had these lands in this bundle box and these lands in this bundle box, and that's the lands that we're playing because they were on my fucking desk.
Yeah, the construction of convenience.
Here's the thing, right? One, play more basics. That's
100% do that. Respect Blood Moon.
Here's the other thing. I think that there can be an argument to a point of if you start shunning people or not, because if you're just making it from your desk and you're trying a deck out, sure, you put your deck together, go at it, who cares what your freaking lands look like. I know there's a part where people have an issue in terms of differentiating resources or magic cards on a battlefield depending on the aesthetic or card frame or lack of color. If we're looking like Innistrad double feature or whatever. I'm a big fan of the black and white lands from Innistrad for Midnight Hunt and Crimson Vow.
I am too. I will come out publicly and say.
Some people don't like them because they're too black and white, and depending on if it's being played on spell table and maybe the resolution of your camera and all this other stuff in that particular regard, sure. If you don't know what people are tapping their lands for, I can see that being an issue. I had a Snowland package for a few Simic decks just because I had them, and I think I initially had a Mareed of the Frost. And I was just like, cool, I just need Snowlands. But when I got a couple of Kaldheim Snowlands together, there were some times I was staring at them without reading the card and being like, I can't tell if that's a forest or an island. The color, I can tell there was a difference. But when it came to the pattern of the artwork, there was some stuff I actually couldn't see from an overview, and that's when I had an issue with it. I think if someone's had a deck for an extended period of time and it's one of their forever decks, they're going to keep it around, maybe consider doing a treat and seeing if you can get some kind of commonality in it. Or if you're doing the bit of, I want every single land from across the multiverse to represent the fact that I've been playing this deck for a long time. Sure. But I think at some point, do yourself a favor and get matching basics for that one particular deck. I got a bunch of Bolus Horn lands from Amaket.
Oh, yeah.
For my Ronus the Indomitable deck. Because I was like, I've had this deck around forever. I'm going to get the Bolus Horn Forests, and that's what I'm going to do. I got the Innistrad Black and Whites for my Bludger deck, and then had Neo Royal put the gold and red wings on it. So that's been fun. But otherwise, yeah, who gives a shit? They're basic lands.
I think it is really funny to match, thematically, the basics with the thing that you're doing in the deck. So my Mardu Phoenix's deck, I chose lands from Zendikar that all looked like places that phoenixes would be roosting. Those ones do
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the stylistic choice that we made for that. And then in my mono black Ashnod deck, I chose the Fallout Swamps with that nasty green glow in the middle, it looks like her factory runoff.
Well, and then you have the same swamps from Assassin's Creed, the industrial cityscape.
Yeah, my Ezio deck runs the industrial cityscape swamps.
So yeah.
I try to match my basics to the plane that legendary creature's from, but I really started to like some legends that didn't have home planes. That were like, where
or
are
nothing
you
that we know of
from?
yet.
Yeah, nothing that we know of, or they're from like a game box set, and it's like, well, we don't actually know who you are or where you're from. And so for those, I I do like the full text basics that were a Secret Lair from years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's like I added those if I had a few, because I'm a very big 2-color. I don't typically play monocolor, so I don't have an issue with like needing to have basics, like 18 basics or whatever. But I play 2-color where I try to do like at least 5 and 5.
Yeah.
I'm a huge like non-basic fan. I love my demolition field. I love my field of ruin. I love
play our
all
price
those.
of progresses here.
You
Come
know,
on.
you gotta do it. But yes, I can get. I have been got from a price of progress, from a back to basics. It's my own fault. I got it.
Have you gotten got by that Sunspawn links yet, though?
No.
It hits you for non-basics for
And
one
then I
damage.
can't gain life the rest of the game, right? That's that
No.
one.
Well, I think it just
Not
says you
for the
can't
rest
gain
of
life
the
when
game,
it's
but
out.
it does just like static turn off life gain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, haven't gotten got by it yet, but I'm waiting. My day's coming. My days are numbered. I know.
As long as
This
you're
is all
aware.
fair. As long as I'm aware. And then finally, we've all done this. We've all tracked our games of Commander. I know, Quinn, you're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about what have we all learned about tracking our games of Commander.
It's a lot of fucking work.
It is so much work.
It is so much fucking work.
So for example, because the curse has been lifted and I've been able to play Magic this month, I was like, oh shit, I haven't made a November like sheet yet, and I had to quickly like throw it together and erase a bunch of stuff and all this other stuff to get ready for like the games I had the other day.
Okay.
But I need to do some calculations. There's been a couple things. One, it's too much work. So the fact that I'm even in here in November, I'm dragging my feet over the finish line. Like I'm so upset with it. The things I've learned was, if you choose to do this, you have to really narrow down what is the tolerance of information you're willing to put into it. What I got it down to is, what's the date? What am I playing? Who am I playing with? And what are they playing? Did the deck cook that game? And are any particular notes to indicate to, for the podcast, for example, talk about the game or a particular moment or whatever. Because one of the things that I've realized, like talking with Quinn, especially when it comes to being like, well, if we're going to talk about games and stuff, what information am I bringing to the table? I like to get particular highlights or find some way to like spark a memory back into that game. Because sometimes if a game happens, it's out of sight, out of mind. I'm back into the next game or whatever.
Absolutely.
Quinn's like play-by-play knowledge kills me, because I'm like, the fuck are you opening a notebook on the side and making notes about this shit? Like, I just don't have the ability to do that, and I don't want to just open my phone and start making notes about it. So it's kind of my way to be like, my notes section on the Excel spreadsheet has a little more room to add a little bit more text to it. I had to cut my win-loss ratio. I can't stand that shit. I'm not here to calculate my stat win percentage, because I'm either going to get hung up on it. So I just cut that section. God, what did I cut it back? Was it like May or June? No, it was back from like April to May. I got to the end of April and was like, I just don't care enough. I can't keep doing this. Like, it's just not worth the effort. So, get it as simple as you can make it. And I love keeping, what I've also loved to use it to keep track of is like, what are people playing? Who am I playing with? That's one thing. Like, I always love being like, I played with so-and-so, like, every couple weeks for, like, the entire year. Like, the amount of games I've had with Quinn is through the roof, obviously. But, it's nice to see what people are playing. Is there any trends that I can see recently? Is there anything, like, is it new? How old is it? Are people being like, cool, it's time for me to, this new card got printed, it's time for me to bust out this old deck that never got support? That type of stuff. So, I need to go back and double check, like, and get, like, my Moxfield list up to date of, like, new what are the unique commanders I played against this year? How many games have I had this year? I lost track because last month I didn't get a whole lot of games in, and this month might be a little bit different, but we're already off to a good start. Five games in for like the first 10 days of the month.
That's great.
It's just been nice to keep a loose grip on what's going on without fully diving into it, because I'm not a stats guy, and the Excel is a fucking demon program. Will I do it next year? Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to see.
So I feel like I'm there with you, right? So this is now my 4th year of tracking. So I started tracking in 2020 for Guardian Project Podcast, and I said, I'm going to do this whole thing in 2020. It's going to be great. And then the world was like, haha, shutting down. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to get very many games in. And that was the rise of Spell Table, because that came out about halfway through, and I was like, oh, this is great, because we were trying to play through Zoom, and that was horrible. I would never recommend that. And so... time
to play through Teams.
I got through. Yes, exactly. Your Teams call incoming. I had a goal to get to 365, and in the month of December, I had to do like 45 games, and I was like, I'm so close. I'm just gonna do this. And I had vacation for like the last 2 weeks of that year.
Oh, okay, great.
Off Christmas, so I did it, and I would vow never to get 365 again. It's an overwhelming amount of games, honestly. I thought, oh, this will be easy, but I had no idea how many games I was playing, right? So I just wanted some context, like, what do I do normally? So that's kind of how my tracking started, was how often do I play, what decks do I play, and what do I play against? So that was like the first year. And so I added some things, but Cole, I think I'm going to also stop tracking some things, because I do track my win percentage. I get hung up. Does it matter? Is this deck? I originally tracked it because I wanted to see not the overall win percentage, but it's like one deck always winning, always doing the thing, and I need to like knock it down a peg? Or was it going to help me figure out, oh, this commander, like the Locust God, had a super high win percentage. I remember it's like, okay, this one is not, this is definitely higher power. Like I can't play this with the precon, like ever. And then I realized I have like my Minotaur deck, like never wins. And I've been playing that for like 4 years. And I was like, okay, so I can go ham with new cards and it will prop up my bad Minotaurs, and that's okay. But so I've been tracking, and I've been tracking successful pregame chats at the end of the game. How did I feel? Did I think this was a good game or not? And I don't know if it's been as useful as I thought, because unless the game was horribly sideways, I usually just put, the pregame chat was fine. But I track people's companions and backgrounds, and I don't feel value in that anymore, like knowing if they played one, because I never see companions and I almost never see backgrounds, and I don't know if I care about those stats anymore.
Right.
I think, when it comes to, I don't know, doing this podcast, and I'd say just doing podcasts in general when it comes to like Uncommon Commander and this, is that it has purely been a vibes-based thing. I'm a very emotionally driven person. I tried learning intro web design in high school, and my brain was melting out of my ears. I tried learning scripting for 3D animation to help simplify or automate certain things. You're like, you want cherry blossoms to fall? Enter a script and have the thing fly, and it'll do the cherry blossoms for you. That shit's fucking impossible for me. I think my teacher just gave me a pass to get me out of the fucking class. Like, he's like, you're graduating in like 6 months, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, great, cool, thank you. Never doing that shit again. So when it comes to people who are incredibly data driven and they're doing the tracking and everything, and they're like, Benoit was like, my average win percentage is like 26%, but these particular decks bump it up to like 34. And I'm like, don't like that. Stop that. You should be making a conscious effort to make that percentage go down. But instead you're being like, this percentage is sick. That's obviously not the case, but that is my interpretation when it comes to these stats, right? So like when EDH Rec has an episode come out, they're like, X many percentage of decks are playing this. I'm like, I don't get that. Fucking means nothing to me. You're telling me that 7% of 100,000 decks was playing this card. That is such an astronomical number. I don't give a fuck. When it comes to this stuff, when it comes to like, okay, if I can visualize a card, maybe it's I'm more of a visual learner than a numbers learner. I don't know, but it's like, my buddy Nick is playing red green Omnath. That's sweet. That's sick. Can I start matching? Can I start like mentally being like, he likes playing these type of decks? I know what kind of decks Nick or Joel or Fitz or Quinn or whoever wants to play, right? But keeping track of wins, like, I don't know, man. If I'm gonna get hung up on the wins. Like, I learned earlier this year, Audric Bloodcursed in most games can win a 25% chance out of all the game. And that was a rough approximation. I'm like, great. What's the actual percentage? Don't care. Throwing this out of the window. I'm done with it. You know, just take the computer and throw it in the trash bin, like in, was it Parks and Rec or whatever? I can't remember. But
yes, when Ron throws the whole computer out, they found his address.
Yeah, just like gotta get rid of the evidence. And it's just, at this point, like, if I continue to do this, I think, like, how much more fat can I trim from this before I still lose track? Like, I get over completely. I think at the moment I gotta get it to December 31st and let you know. But I think it, like with most things, what are you keeping track of? How are you keeping track of it? Where are you keeping track of it? There's a lot of resources just in general for just your everyday life. And there's also Moxfield and Architect and all this other stuff. If you want to find a way to keep track of stuff, use these resources, get familiar with them. And if it's something that you can do but quickly before a game or quickly after a game and just hammer it down and then throw it away, great, do that. If that feels like too much upkeep, don't even bother, is the way that I'm looking at that, because it is sometimes just really flippin' annoying. But you can also learn a lot. You can learn a lot from it depending on what you're looking for. Like you said, you were keeping track of like what decks are you playing or how often you're playing them or whatever. I started color tagging my decks on the spreadsheet, and then the amount of not only the amount of decks way less, I'm under 40 decks now, which is pretty impressive for me, but also the amount of changes from the beginning of the year to coming out at the end of the year now has been also astronomical. And it's like, this deck isn't even a thought in my brain anymore because I wasn't playing it. Or this deck went up a color category from light green to blue because I just like the play patterns or whatever. Speaking of, I gotta do an update on that right now that I'm thinking about it.
I think it was great to give me a baseline of what I did. I think after doing it, and including this year, it's been 4 years, I know what I do and I know what I don't do. And I think it was very helpful to figure out how often I was or was not playing a specific deck. I trimmed down this year. I went down from, you mentioned you're down to 40 or under 40 now.
I think I'm at 36-ish.
So with the whole household, we were at like 51. And I was like, we're not playing that many games that I could even be playing all of these in the year. So if I hadn't played the deck in over a year, it got this year. Yeah. It got we had the great unsleeving of January this year. I mean, it was like literally 25 decks. I was like watching streams, listen to podcasts, unsleeve those cards, and so then that's how I was able to make the Commander Cube. Because now I have all the cards, so it was not a big, like, it didn't hit the pocketbook. And now I think I'm happier being able to focus on like 15 decks. Like I have plenty of range. I have lots of opportunity to upgrade or whatever. And I think it's made the Commander experience better now that I kind of know more about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So tracking was fun. But it's unruly. So if anybody wants to do it, it's awesome. Being able to look at the stuff at the end of the year is really cool. To be like, look what I did in 2024. Mm-hmm. But man, if you play like 15 games of Commander over a weekend, you got to come home and type into Excel 15 games worth of data. You're spending an hour and a half, like trying to, and you got to write all those notes down somewhere, whether it's in a notebook or the notes app, which is what I do on my phone.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I just started, like, when I was doing that directly from my phone pretty shortly after games that I played, would just like input all of the data. But then it got to be just like, damn, son, do I even want to play games? Because then I'm going to have to put this fucking in the sheet. And
you assigned yourself homework. Yeah.
The year that I was doing that, I got up to like 500 games. Like, I was playing a lot of Magic the Gathering.
Wow.
Well,
that's so cool, though.
Listen, I have a girlfriend. I have a partner that I have to do this stuff around. And she's got a pretty... Granted, you have to deal with me on a daily basis, so you gotta have a certain tolerance level, or you really gotta love me a lot to let me get away with my shit. But when I'm screaming here into my microphone, laughing and cackling and calling someone a piece of shit or whatever over a Commander game for 3+ hours, and she's just like, ugh, kill me. You can't always do that. So when you have other obligations, yeah, you're not going to get 365 games in a year, let alone maybe even half of that. But 500 games is so much, Quinn. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's a lot of playing Magic the Gathering.
Need to get more hours in Pokemon, jeez.
I don't have the brain for competitive Pokemon. I can do just entry level strategies, and then you want to do anything that's more than Sunny Day Solar Beam, I'm out.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. But yeah, strats, not my thing. But from what I've been able to glean in just terms of the who and the what, yeah, it's been pretty fun to at least be able to do that. And also be damn, they were cooking that game. What can I get from this, The emotional response to it is way better than the calculated response.
It always comes down to seeing a lot of cards.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially this year. There's been so many new utility stuff coming out where I'm I don't even care what the commander is. What the fuck is that card? There was, for just to kind of, I guess we're kind of wrapping it up here, but let's talk about one card that I saw last night that I'm pretty sure I remembered seeing when New Phyrexia or March of the Machine came out. It's the Exterminator Magmark from... Oh, wait, that was modern.
That card's not real.
Yeah, exactly. Someone says this, you're that's just a fake Magic the Gathering card that doesn't exist.
From the John's precon with the Tarmogoyfs? Yeah?
Maybe. It was from Modern Horizons 3. It's 2 and a black and a red for a 5/3 Phyrexian Construct. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that only targets a single non-land permanent opponent controls, if another opponent controls one or more non-land permanents that spell could target, choose one of those permanents, copy that spell, it targets that chosen permanent, and also has regenerate for 1 and a black.
It is from that set, because you're supposed to use that to turn your 1-for-1 removal spells into 2-for-1 removal spells, because the whole deck is about grinding them out with 2-for-1s.
Yeah, so...
And making goyfs. And
the set came out, Modern Horizons 3 came out, and I looked at it, and I'm absolutely certain I saw it. It said, cool, immediately out of my brain.
Yep.
And then it came up last night, and I'm sitting right beside the person playing it, and they're like, cool, I'm going to kill 2 things. I'm like, fuck, that's awesome. I want that. I get it. I want it in a deck. And that's just kind of where we're at right now. The commanders can be very impressionable. But when people start... cool utility spell, save your thing, phase it out, a unique board wipe, a creature you never gave a second thought to during preview season, they'll use it in a weird, cool, particular way, and you're like, notes, this card,
this
very
is just
cool.
driving up the stocks of cards like Fairy Artisans and Cephalid Face Taker. Just fucking get yourself a little sampler platter of what everybody else is playing. See what
true enough, yeah. You're like, oh, that's a cool ETB. What if I had that?
I think I'll copy that with my Fairy Artisans. Oh, that's what that does.
Your
Okay,
Cephalid
we're gonna
Face
write that
Taker's
down.
been...
We'll play that later. And Face Taker cooks every time I play her. There's always somebody who has a busted Magic the Gathering card on the table, and you get that, and you get its static abilities, and maybe any attack triggers or whatever. You don't quite get the ETBs. She's not that great, but for everything else that she offers and still is an unblockable 1/4, she's incredible. Play more Cephalid Face Taker.
Which means playing more blue, and I can't promise that.
That's fine.
I can do
it. Okay.
Yeah, and
there we
do
go.
it for you.
I'll take one for the team, Cole.
Oh, all right.
Good.
Well, someone had to.
Yeah, play Cephalid Face Taker for me.
All right. We're heading to end step here. Anything to go over?
Man, what do we usually say at the end stuff? I think I usually am just all right, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, okay. Well, we could do that too, because burning the midday oil here or whatever.
We gotta plug some stuff. That's right. This is the part where actually I fangirl about the Guardian Project podcast because I listened to that all the way through. Heard the first.
How many times did you listen through, Quinn?
Relax.
Okay, so at least twice. Got it. Okay.
No, just started somewhere in the middle of the podcast and then got caught up with that and then just listened from the beginning to where we were and then kept listening again. So, you just do the whole content loop, listen to the whole podcast. There's a lot of still really cool and fun experiences that you can hear in those episodes, even now. Years on from
and
the
also
start of the episode.
Tracking the passage of time and how opinions change, and oh man, it's always a fun experience.
It's always a wild ride listening to old content and seeing what people are valuing and where that ended up here. One episode of a different podcast I listened to was just if you don't want to pony up that $12 for that dockside extortionist, then here's this option here, and I'm just buddy.
You had no idea. You had
You
no idea.
Child.
And then later they get to the oh man, it got to $40. You're like, oh yeah, let's check back in. Yeah, no, it's crazy to think about how it's only just been a year and a half since it ended.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. I will say there are some evergreen episodes. If anybody wants to go back, I don't have the numbers offhand, but you can easily just Google them. But we did an entire episode on Shadowborn Apostle and things. While there's more demons, that's pretty
that's not changing anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not we talk about Shadowborn Apostle decks, the best commanders that could utilize Shadowborn Apostles, and some of the best targets to pull. So while that could change, that's still a pretty great episode. And then, obviously, we had Halloween episodes every year that were just very silly, and those are fun to listen to. So that absolutely is not important to anything, but it's just if you want a silly listen to the last episode of October from every year of our show. There are multiple of them, and they're very silly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I also got to flex the number of times that I melded creatures in the email section on the podcast. That felt very good.
Yes, we did talk about meld. We got to get, because you finally sent us in the one that we couldn't remember, because we had the Onward Garrison mixture one, and then we always had Brazella, and then that other one.
The rat and the whatever.
Yeah.
The Chittering Harvester and the, man, I have forgotten the other half.
Because we never see it. But see, these are the cool things. So yes, I miss podcasting dearly, and I'm so happy to have been invited here to hang out with you both today. And maybe we'll have to have me back sometime.
I would love to. It's
all right. We'll see you next year,
so
I guess.
Okay, perfect. I'm putting it on my calendar.
But yeah,
do you want to tell the people where they can find you online and all that? If you're still doing that,
I am on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at Andy Floury. You can find me on Blue Sky by that same name. I'm talking about magic. I'm talking about cats. Lots of home renovation. So same three things I think I've been doing. So come find me on Blue Sky. It's really a great site, and there are way less political ads thrown in your face, but all the same cool people you've been hanging out with on the other websites.
I'm so tired of the crypto ads.
I'm done with them myself, so come to the Blue Sky.
And then as for us, as usual, here's play HBVC _ or -MTG, depending on the website, _ on Twitter, - on Blue Sky. You can find me on Uncommon CMDR, MTG, and either. Quinn has not come over to Blue Sky. Won't be at this point until literally the site is dying. But
I'm gonna keep logging in at the Bad Post Factory until they turn the lights off on me.
Girl Dig Energy. I'm just really trying to think. I don't know. YouTube, where podcasts are available, but if you want to watch and see some sneaky stuff that I put in with my low effort editing, you can find it on YouTube, and every once in a while we'll put stuff on Instagram. Maybe.
Alright, sounds good. I guess that's gonna be it from us gamers. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're gonna head on out of here.
1 year. It's crazy. Bye.
Let's go.